Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 505. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Yep, it's 101 more than 404 not found.
That was a very specific joke, but yes. Does the internet even do that anymore?
Numbers.
Do you get 404 not found?
So.
Don't think so. Oh well, this is a DC Comics podcast. We get together and read the books we read this week. Coming up on today's show, we have Batman issue 9, Absolute Superman issue 19, Absolute Green Lantern 14, Batgirl issue 19, Poison Ivy 44, Superman the Book of El issue 8, Tales of the Green Lantern Corps Guy Gardner issue 1, and from last week we got Swamp Thing 1989 issue 1. And we do still owe you Zatanna issue 1. That was the winner of the Patreon vote, but someone forgot to read it this week.
Yeah, Pete.
I think you could tell by my tone.
Okay.
Who didn't read it.
I'll admit it. It was Connor.
I mean, technically that's true. I can't deny it. So
I'm saying that argument hold up in a court of law.
But yes, welcome to the show, everyone. So we got a bunch of books here. And we'll get into that. There's a little bit of news as well and the usual stuff, but we'll start off with just asking Matt, how was your week?
Well, Southern Utah did not kill me, so that's good. It tried. We did some hikes, and I love, yes, I'm a larger, huskier man. However, I go to the gym a lot. I play football mostly once a week. Hiking at elevation is the great equalizer, because I was getting passed by a 73-year-old woman from Colorado. That's because we were hiking at 7,500 feet, So, yeah, Bryce Canyon did try to kill me, but it did not. And I ended up buying this cool hat that has a T-Rex skull on it. But yeah, that was my reward for not dying on the trail.
Well, that's adventurous. Congratulations.
Yeah, it does. So, one of my dreams is to go to the house where they shot the exteriors in Last Crusade, because they turned it into a bed and breakfast. Now, we were still not close, but not too far away from that. And it definitely looks like they shot there. And I know they shot that part of Last Crusade, I think, in New Mexico. But I feel like that area all looks the same. So it did feel like life was an Indiana Jones movie for 2 days last week. And I was just thrilled.
I have nothing to add. You had a good time. That's all that matters. No need to belabor it any more than that. Now I am looking at your letterboxd here.
Yes.
And two things stick out. You really liked Hokum, which I did too, to be fair. So yes, highly recommended new horror movie for all to go see. You also watched something called Pizza Movie. I don't even think I've heard of this.
Yeah. I don't recommend it to you, Pete. It's definitely not your sensibilities.
Okay.
I was looking for something to watch before the hockey game yesterday. We're right in the middle of hockey playoffs. And it was like this 90-minute movie on Hulu starring Dustin from Stranger Things and the kid from the Goldbergs. And I'm like, I'll check this out. And it's going to be to a 15-year-old now what Dude, Where's My Car was to me at that age. Where you'll laugh at some of the jokes, even though if you don't understand them. And it's just a zany time. I can't say I comes with a high recommend. There are parts that land. But for the most part, like I paused at a certain point and went and got food. Because I was like, I don't need to wait for this to be over. I'm hungry now. But yeah, it's about these two guys that find what they think are regular mints in their dorm ceiling. Turns out they're this super specific kind of drugs. And to counteract it, they need to get pizza. And there's a lot of guard stops in preventing them from getting the pizza. And then the different symptoms as they happen. So yeah, again, I do not recommend it to Pete. So if you have Pete sensibilities in movies, hard pass on this one.
Yeah, you give it a 5 out of 10, to be fair. So it's not like it's that highly recommended in general.
No.
The most popular review for this movie is a full 10 out of 10 review that says, "This is the best movie I've ever seen in my life. I am from Israel." What's that guy? What's that guy doing?
I wasn't ready for that tag. I thought it was gonna be like I am 12. Okay, wow.
I don't know what to make of that, but very good.
I'm glad to hear that you're giving a good review to Oakham, because let me tell you, suspense.
Well, Oakham was very good. It used its geography very well. It set up rules. It used those rules. Now, this is the third film from Damien McCarthy, who's made interesting movies each time, and he seems to be getting better with each one. So, yeah.
We had the theater to ourselves, and sometimes one of the workers will come in just to check how things are going. And it came during a very tense moment, and I might have jumped out of my chair because I wasn't expecting a person to be right then and there. So that's what kind of movie it was, guys. Definitely had me on the edge and back of my seat somehow at both. Ready to run. Go check that one out.
I did watch some crap this past week or so, though. I saw a bad movie called Time Lapse, which is about a camera that takes a photo a day into the future, and that's not a bad premise. It's actually a very fun premise. I see lots of potential in such a premise, but the characters and the writing were so inane. And, well, frankly, the actors were not good. One of the actors was Caitlin on The Flash, for those who can conjure up an image of that. Yeah, she's terrible. I mean, she's pretty bad in general, but she's terrible in this. You look upset by that, Matt.
We're talking about Danielle Panabaker, right?
Yes, her.
Yeah, I think she's been fine in things. Maybe not since The Flash. I have not seen her in anything since The Flash.
I mean, she wasn't good in The Flash either, to be fair.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Not since The Flash have I seen, where I thought she was fine in the Friday the 13th remake. Sky High. Yeah.
Passing grade at best, but she's not the worst actor in Time Lapse, to be fair. There's even worse than her. But it's just...
what year is this from?
2014, so it's the same year as The Flash started, actually.
Gotcha. Okay.
So not good. Do not recommend it. The character logic is baffling, to say the least. And also, last weekend I ended up watching a movie. It was basically like it was trying to be kind of John Wick-esque, but starring Kevin James.
Huh?
And his wife in it's Christina Ricci, but it's a movie called Guns Up. You look truly
Guns Up,
shell-shocked.
I know. Yeah, it is the Gun Club, and 2 words for you, Guns Up. I've never heard of this, and I like Christina Ricci. So, God, Kevin James, this guy, Guns Up. No, I've heard. So I haven't seen the Becky movies. I know he's in one of them. He plays the heavy, and I heard he's actually pretty good in that. So when he takes a chance, this seems like more of the same, judging from your breakdown of it.
It's just a really bad, just poorly paced, and it pulls some kind of reveals and turns that just don't make a whole lot of sense. And they have the audacity to actually bring up John Wick by name in the back act, like the half hour of it. And I'm like, don't reference the thing that you're shamelessly trying to be. It's tasteless.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, not good. Not good, Bob.
Guns Up. How did I miss this? From 2025.
Oh yeah, it's from last year.
Wow.
You're going to watch this, aren't you, Matt? I can see it in your eye.
No, I'm good. So how do they name check John Wick? They talk about how this is akin to John Wick?
So one of their teenage kids says, "Oh, gotcha. Our mum's John Wick." One of them says that at one point.
Gotcha. Not a fan of that.
No, actually, I'm misremembering. One of them says, "Is her dad John Wick?" And then the other kid says, "No, he married John Wick." That was the actual exchange of dialogue. You see, both parents are...
Yes, I see.
Are good at fighting and gunplay and the like. Although, imagine not having any of the directing work or the choreography that goes into a John Wick movie. So
yikes.
Yeah, no, not good. Did not enjoy. Time lapse was even worse, actually, arguably. Oh, was it? Yeah, I guess it was. I think it's objectively worse, although the Kevin James action movie was a lot more boring, I guess. I was more annoyed at time lapse, which meant it was less boring, I guess. But that's
how I feel about watching Ballerina, which is just John Wick, because Keanu even shows up at a certain point. And it's like, oh, this was like if you really were trying to make John Wick, but not nearly as good. You know, the pieces are there, it just doesn't add up. And that seems like the Kevin James of it all just seems like, yeah, we'll just say it's John Wick. We won't even try to do it. You know, people will be fooled.
I mean, technically they're trying. They just don't have the talent to even get remotely in the vicinity of it. You know, it's, I mean, effectively all I'm really saying is that it tries to sell you that he's a badass who will win a fight anytime someone tries to fight him, but like, you know, it's Kevin James.
See, that's why I like Nobody, because the Nobody premise of that is like, what if this regular guy who does have a past? But that's where the similarities end, because it's not the same kind of action and that type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I found that pretty mediocre, to be honest.
Yeah, but I feel like it sounds like it landed the premise better than this Kevin James one. You know.
Honestly, the tone was kind of baffling. Like there was definitely times where it was taking itself really seriously, but then there's entire stretches where I'm like, oh, I think this is supposed to be more of a comedy, but it wasn't always clear.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. How'd you end up watching that? Did you lose a bet?
No.
Or were you just looking for something?
No, people pick movies to watch on stream, and someone picked that.
Gotcha.
How they find these things, that's baffling to me. But it's the sort of thing where 10 minutes in, oh, this is pretty bad. Then halfway through, you're like, oh no, this is shockingly bad. And you're just kind of like giggling to yourself like a Joker for the rest of the movie, because that's all you can do is be a little insane. Otherwise, you won't get through it. That's just. And
because you're watching it on stream, it's not like you can be like, yeah, I'm done, and just never go back to it.
Quite right. Not that I pretend to like it, right? Like, I'm pretty honest about my feelings on the matter.
But like, I remember we started watching one movie, and it was on Peacock, and it was some like Peacock original, and it was just terrible. And I can't even remember the premise of it, but we got about 20 minutes in, and I was like, this is not going to get any better. It had Stephen Lang in it, who's worked with James Cameron, and he was in Don't Breathe, and it was just super rough. It was like somebody's first movie. He was there as like a favor because he's only in like the first 10 minutes. And I was like, I don't have to finish watching this. I have that power, and it felt kind of nice.
Yeah. Oh, I would never have even started this movie of my own volition, to be clear. Time lapse I might have actually tried, because it sounds like a movie I would like if it was good. It just happened to be terrible. So, there you go. Anyway, we'll get into things, I suppose. We'll start off with the Kindle rankings, the list formerly known as the ComiXology Top 10. We'll make Matt guess what he thinks number one is.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to go with Batman number 9.
That is correct. Someone did suggest to make you try and guess the next couple of DC books in order, just to make it a bit more spicy, since number one's been pretty easy for a while between the options that tend to be out.
All right, so then let's go the 2 and 3 spot, and it's going to be easier this week because there are absolute books. I'm going to go Absolute Superman, Absolute Green Lantern.
That is exactly right. Absolute Superman is number 2. Number 3, though, is Ben 10 issue 1.
What?
And then number 4 is Absolute Green Lantern, but you got the DC order right. Number 5 is X-Men. Number 6 is Daredevil. Number 7 is GSA. 8 is Energon Universe Special. Transformers thing, I guess. And then number 9 is Amazing Spider-Man. And number 10 is Fantastic Four. So 4 DC books in the top 10. Not too bad. Just about half. And elsewhere outside the top 10, the Tale of the Green Lantern Corps was number 15. Book of L was 17, Batgirl was 18, and that's kind of, on Poison Ivy is 24. So that's where all the DC books kind of ended up landing on the Kindle rankings. As of now, at the time of recording, of course, because I don't know how often they change after, like, I imagine they're probably pretty set in stone after, like, say, Thursday, but,
yeah,
you know, just worth mentioning as a disclaimer. So that is the Kindle rankings, and there is some news, and I did not hear about this news in advance. I just found this when I went looking before the start of the show. But DC announced a crossover event for late summer this week, a super family event, which is called Kingdom of Zod. Obviously, very close to Kingdom of God, which is, I think, is what they're trying to evoke there in the title. But this is going to be a crossover / event, which is going to be 2 issues of each of the super books, meaning 2 issues of Supergirl, Action Comics, Superman Unlimited, and Superman. And then the finale, the part 9, if you will be a one-shot special at the end of September. So this is going to take place over August and September and go through all of those books. Now, we're actually reading all those anyway, so it's not that much of a pain for us, but, you know, what's interesting, though, more than anything else, honestly, is that it mentions that Superman is going to be back in issue 1100 of Action Comics, and that's going to be part of this crossover from 1101 and 1102, which means that we have an end date for the Superboy stuff and Action Comics right now. We've only got a few more issues left of that. I mean, maybe it'll go back to that after this crossover, I don't know, but at least right now it seems like it's ending with 1099. Yes. Right. See when there's 4 digits, try to keep all the digits right in my head as I'm saying the numbers. But yes, thoughts?
I saw this yesterday, and I'm glad they're finally paying off the Zod stuff. So that was teased from, you know, Lois getting the powers and all that, since at least absolute power. So to see that, how may it be a crossover? I'm not sure. Like, we'll see how it goes. I don't like when books do this, where sometimes it feels like they have to tie into this overarching thing. Kind of kills the momentum on the books that aren't necessarily like Supergirl or Action or whatever. I mean, they're telling their own story, so now they have to fold in, and that kind of messes things up.
Yeah, I mean, the ideal scenario is that they've ended an arc in a neat place before the crossover, which, you know, given where Supergirl is in its current arc, it probably will end its arc before this crossover. I mean, obviously, the Superboy stuff, at the very least, has to pause, because you can't just tie that into what's going on in present day. So, I know, I'm of 2 minds. I like that it's using the El Cadero stuff from Superman Unlimited. It says that's where it all kind of kicks off, is that Zod and a military force invade that city, which is okay, that's interesting. I like that Supergirl is a part of it, not because it's going to interrupt Supergirl, because I agree kind of in principle that can be annoying, but I like that they're trying to like make it feel like, I mean, you know, an equal book to the others and sort of raise it up to that same status, so that's nice.
I read, like, one of the blurbs is that she forms a strike team, Kara. She has, like, Tomorrow Man and Superboy Prime and someone else, I forget, I'm drawing a blank. Might be Connor. But yeah, she puts them together to go investigate what's going on. So the fact that they're putting Kara up, you know, especially at this point in her movie will be out, giving her a bit of a spotlight, I think, is nice.
Yeah, no, I like that element of it, and I mean, again, I agree kind of the interrupting of the books can be annoying depending on where those books were when the crossover gets in. Hopefully they've planned this well enough that's not an issue. But I do like that the event will be over in 2 months. There is like a nice quality to that, of it being like a really rapid fire thing where it'll be done very, very quickly. Which is especially good if it ends up not being good. Because it's like, it'll be done by the end of September. All right, we're back to normal books in October.
I feel like since Wade's come back, he's involved in a lot of these. So I feel like whatever magic he's working, I mean, like, hey guys, we don't need to draw this out long enough. We have all these books with some editorial coordination. Let's nail this.
Yeah. You know? Not that they've all been great, the ones he's been involved in, because he did that, what was that Batman and Robin one?
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, I forget what that was called, but yeah. He did that one, and you know, some other stuff. But I mean, I'm optimistic. I like that this is going to be the big return, because even though it says Superman returns in 1100, it sounds like he's not really back with everyone else until the start of this crossover. So it feels like it's a big way to bring him back into it and make it feel like a big deal and all the rest of it. So I see potential, but as with any of these crossover style things, very quickly it might become apparent that it's not that great or whatever, and it'll be kind of like, okay, it's going to be a short, you read this every week for 2 months, because effectively it's going to be weekly, right? Because it's going to be, you know, across these 4 books. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, there's some art to look at. There's a big sort of wide splash page. I don't know if it's like a wraparound cover they're showing, and then there's a couple of variants that they've put out of like portraits of the various characters. There's one of Connor, one of Superman, Supergirl, and one of Zod. I assume there'll be more of those as well, but there's 4 on the article that I'm looking at the very least.
I saw that Yellow March is doing the wraparound cover, and I just went,
I actually couldn't tell because on Aped Comics that I'm looking at, I can't click on it to make it bigger, so it's so small that I can't tell it's Gilliam March. So maybe it's a blessing. They knew what they were doing, which is funny because I can click on those variants on the same article and those are enlarging. So clearly they've got some bias here.
they know what's up.
So they're saving me from the Gilliam March art, so that's nice. Yeah, I mean, obviously the other downside to this, though, is that, okay, let's assume that all the writers are all working together, so they're going to make it all feel coherent. The art is going to be all over the place. It's impossible for it not to be, because it's going to be at least 4 different artists, possibly more than that.
Yeah. Even if, like, it's 1 or 2 back-to-back, yeah, you know, we'll have the specific artists, and hopefully they meld pretty well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's hoping. But, hey, it'll make a nice 9-issue deluxe hardcover down the line, I suppose, when it's all said and done. So, yeah, we're getting a big super crossover, which, to be fair, I mean, it's been a while since we've had some sort of super family event, I think.
Yeah.
Been a little while.
So. And again, I'm curious to see how Zod fits in with this with everything that's going on with Caldera. Right, with the whole kryptonite being everywhere, you know, because if they won't hesitate to use on Superman, a guy that's coming over to invade the country, you know what I mean? That's a country made of that stuff. I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, but if he doesn't have his powers still, does it even affect him right now?
Right, so that means he has a tactical advantage, you would think.
Yeah. And also, as part of this, maybe not the whole thing, but as part of this, that he sees this Caldera using his like Kryptonian technology, and he doesn't like that very much because you know, we've been seeing them do that. We've been seeing them use different crypto tech. So you know, Zod might be upset about that. It would be in character.
That's my stuff. You can't copy our culture. He, you know, starts accusing them of culture vulturing, all this other stuff.
It's going to be really awkward when Superman shows up. He's like, okay, you know what, Zod? You've got a point. They're a bit out of line. I'm not going to deny it, but I can't have you just taking over countries on Earth, okay? We can't just be doing that.
I'm a general. That's what we do. It's like a duck not to swim.
Oh, dear. But yeah, so there you go. Apparently, we're going to have artists from Stephanie Hans, Ariel Olivetti, Mike Choi, SEO, Torrin Clark, and Christian Ward. Plus... Ooh. Oh, sorry,
those just aren't the covers?
That's the variants, sorry, that's right. That's the variants. Yeah. Because it also says, and foil covers by Mark Spears, which I'm going to assume that's the ones that we can see on the page.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just got a list
Christian
of artists.
Ward on one of those books, Christian Ward doing one of those books would be, you know, near the top of that.
Oh, here's a list of artists. So, obviously, the writers are Williamson, Sophie Campbell, Mark Waid, Dan Slott, the 4 names you'd expect. Art on the books is going to be Eddie Barrows, Joe Quinones, Montos, and Rachel Stott.
Okay.
So, it's not a bad list of names by any stretch.
No, they are there. Some of those are a little bit different than the others. You know, Barrows will definitely stick out, I feel.
I think Barrows and Montos are definitely different, but I can see tonally it feeling not too bad.
Yep.
So
we'll heavy on the shading, on the inks.
Yeah. So we'll see how that blends together once we see them back to back. But so yeah, that is Kingdom of Zod, a super family crossover coming over August and September. And I'm sure we'll find out more about this in the August solicits next month, assuming they're next. I think they're next. So, all right, there you go. All right, then, let's get into the books for the week. Starting off with Batman issue 9, legacy number 937, Matt Fraction writing with Ryan Sook on the art. So this issue is basically the story of Batman sending out a bunch of the other characters, namely Duke, Stephanie Brown, and Damian. Although Damian kind of gets swapped around, actually, once things get going. Yeah. But they're out basically clearing out the Bat bunkers because Vandal Savage's police are going to try and clear as many of them out as they can. So they're trying to make sure they get some vital tech back or vital information back before the police can get their hands on it. And the whole idea here is that Oracle is going to be like, calling the shots. She's in the watchtower, looking over all this, directing them where the police are so they can get around them. So it's this big operation. There's a lot of moving parts. But the ultimate story here is that when Steph gets cornered by a SWAT team and is going to get caught, Babs turns off her scrambler at the end of the issue. So the police all find out, they know where all the secret communication is coming from. And this book, this issue, ends up setting up Barbara Gordon breakout, because we end this issue with Babs getting arrested. We get that panel of all the laser sights on her back, and she's got her hands up, and it's like they're getting like the biggest kingpin that's ever lived.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, she kind of is, because she is the information broker for the heroes, So, if not the kingpin, the linchpin. I forgot. I knew that book was coming out. I didn't expect this to lead directly into it. So when we got there, the light bulb went off. I was like, oh man. But I do give Fraction credit for, like, I followed the breadcrumbs enough where I was still surprised, right? Like when she gives herself up to save Steph. I was like, oh, Babs, no, it's clearly Batman's going to show up and they're leading her out with a perp walk. And I was like, oh, man. And then that's when it clicked. And I was like, man, that's good storytelling, though.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, I kind of think that her being arrested isn't just, like... Because if I was to critique this, I would say the one thing I don't like about it, because I overall like everything it's doing here, is that I just think it's a bit, maybe arguably a bit rushed to get to that point where, Babs is going to have to give herself up to save Steph, because it's literally like, one page of Steph like in a room, and then like all the SWAT teams coming towards the door. It's like, okay, time to like turn myself in. It feels like a very, very rushed decision. However, if that is just the problem, then fair enough. It's like, something I'll get over. It's not a big deal. It's one like negative to point out. However, I think that in actuality, it might be the plan for tonight was always to end with Babs getting arrested. Because I think this isn't just because, I have to do this to save Steph. I think, okay, that's maybe bringing it forward a little bit. But I feel like Babs and Batman have come up with a plan. That
they have something cooked.
Yeah, that involves her going into the prison to meet someone, find someone, whatever it is. But
yeah. Well, and then on top of that is that Bruce switches with Damian, right? Because Damian was supposed to be the failsafe guy. Like, if any of them get into trouble, you radio and Damian will be there. And Batman ends up having this. Yeah, he ends up having this conversation with Ghost Alfred, and which I'm curious to see where that's going to go, because Ghost Alfred's making some very coherent points for just a voice in Bruce's head. But it's basically like Damian, while he's capable, he's never been taught to fail. Is that Bruce has always put into him, this is how we win, right? There's always a way out. There's always a plan. And for Damian, that's just how he is. And so the fact that, he was never taught to fail is kind of a failing on Bruce's part. And I was like, all right, Ghost Alfred, I kind of like where this is going. It's playing with that. And then we get Batman running the interference there in place of Damian. And they end up failing in the way where Barbara gets taken. And it definitely does feel like, okay, this is part of a greater plan. Like maybe if Damian wasn't there, that doesn't go off, or if he was there rather than not there, this goes off a different way and not the way that Bruce needs it. So maybe this Ghost Alfred was a piece of his mind saying like, no, we need to do it just like this. But that entire sequence back and forth, I really enjoyed with him and the Ghost Alfred.
Yeah, I mean, you're calling him Ghost Alfred because it's easy to call him that. But yeah, it is just in Bruce's mind. It is just like his inner conscious kind of like talking him through his own faults. And He even makes Alfred sassy. In fact, there's one little nitpick I have with this, because I really like the scene as well, but the one little nitpick is that when you turn the page and the conversation ends, Bruce says to Ghost Alfred, "I don't miss you at all, Pennyworth, and I'm glad you're dead." And then Alfred says, "I shall see you in hell, Master Bruce. Good luck." Now, I'm okay with them cracking a joke to Alfred and Alfred being sassy back, but honestly, the two things that stick out to me about that line is, one, I do not think I've ever heard Bruce call him Pennyworth, ever.
No.
Ever. It's always Alfred. And two, saying "I'm glad you're dead," even for the joking tone, just feels a bit too far. Him saying, "I'm starting not to miss you, Alfred," would have been like the same idea, but it just feels so overly dramatic that the way that one line is written, that it feels almost out of character, even in his head, for him to say that. But it's ultimately not that big a quibble, but it's just something that stuck out to me as I was reading over that page. But yeah, this is Bruce dealing with this idea of, I'm struggling to be a father, and he's not got time for Damien's adolescent bullshit. But Alfred's like, hey, he's been troubled because you're not teaching him how to fail, yada yada yada. And he makes the choice to go and switch places with Damien. He's like, okay, I'll run interference, I'll be the backup for them if they get into a spot of trouble. You go do what I was going to do instead. And we don't get told what that is. We just kind of see hints of Damien climbing in walls and planting explosives throughout the issue every so often. And the big reveal at the end, seemingly, is that he's blowing up Wayne Manor so that Wayne Manor can't be used by Savage anymore.
Right. And that was the other thing too, was the crew, so it was Signal, so it was Duke Thomas, it was Stephanie, and it was Damien, right? They were going to these places to pull things that they need, right? For Batman to continue doing Batman things. And they were also burning those places, the bunkers, so there's nothing left. Right? So then when we see that he blows Wayne Manor, I was like, oh yeah, he's going scorched earth. Like, he's not leaving anything behind, Total War type stuff, which I did like because of that. And then they're dropping it in. They brought in Azrael, and they're dropping things off in the catacombs, which I thought was a fun scene. Just him standing with all this Batman stuff around him in this cavern, with all the religious artifacts around him. Yeah, that was pretty cool as well.
Because he's basically accepted, we're going to lose X amount of things, but here's a priority list of the things that would be nice to keep, but everything else gets torched, so they can't use it, so they can't trace it to us, so on and so on. But I like the setup of this because it's Oracle talking to all three characters, and then when they're out on, it's a lot of action and a lot of cutting around, because you've got Duke on his bike talking to Babs, and then Steph's on her bike talking to Babs. There's a fun little moment actually where she says, hey, shouldn't Tim be out helping this? It's all hands on deck. And I think it's Damien or someone over the comms is like, no, Tim's got a relationship, he's taking some time off. And Steph's like, oh, that's cool. And then she goes,
cool.
She goes out of her way to ride her bike into a couple of SWAT members, even though she doesn't need to, because she's clearly agitated by the news she's just heard. And she's like, no, I'm fine, I just had to deal with some police. So I was just really amusing. It was a nice little character bit, and gave her a little moment, which is cool.
And kind of to fraction here, you can tell the tone on both Damien and Steph, because when he goes, Drake is on, quote, sabbatical, he's in a, quote, relationship.
Unquote.
Yes. Well, and so the quotes are there, but that's how I'm saying that he's saying it. And that's where Steph just puts her head down on the bike and goes, oh, cool for Tim. And you can just, again, you just feel it through, through the dialogue.
I mean, you did it as soon as I said it. It's the Andy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, pretending he's okay with something when he's really not. That's what it is. And we do see Tim's living the domestic life, but he sees on the news and hears things, or hears a cop car go by, and at the end he hears the news or sees the news of Babs being arrested. In fact, everyone does it. We see Gordon's reaction to his daughter being arrested. We see, because they make a big song and dance of it. Hey, we've arrested a collaborator, Barbara Gordon, daughter of former commissioner, all that stuff. They really kind of milk it and do all that. And there's some action in between here where Duke's getting chased by a SWAT van or whatever, and Batman comes swooping down, and we reveal that Batman secretly installed bollards that can come up at the press of a button around the city.
That's pretty rad as well. And then I do like that Bab's like, yeah, but after Savage is done, he's gonna go make sure they get all ripped out.
Now he knows about them. Now he's seen the effect of them. Yeah, he's going to go around tearing up all the roads. Yeah. Like, where are these secret bat bollards?
So I do love the stake, like not the stakes, but just the state of Gotham. We just feel like the way that they're referencing Savage without him being there, and even the cops. Like the cops are all pretty faceless. You know, they're just meant to be like these obstacles. You know, but this is what it's going to be now since Ivy took over.
They're stormtroopers, basically. That's just all they are.
Yeah.
The stormtroopers for Savage's empire. Like, that's what it is.
You know, and then, and just the fact that Babs gives herself up in the way that she does. Again, I really liked how that goes off. And, like, it cuts to, what do you mean signing off? Duke, you know, who's confused because clearly he wasn't clued into any of this. And this look of worry on Steph's face here. I thought the way that all plays out is really cool.
Yeah, and there's the little thing. I mean, I love how big of a deal it feels for Babs to give herself up, and they treat it like a big cinematic moment, which is cool. There's a nice little moment with Duke, which kind of feels like just some neat little subtext with him being black. Is that at one point he goes to use his powers to like get away from the cop car. And I think it's Babs who over the comm says, oh no, don't use your powers. If you use your powers, they're just going to make a big deal out of it and they're going to use it as ammunition against you. You cannot use your powers against them. And he's, oh great. So he has to actively do even better than what he can do to for the optics of it. So it felt like there was just a little bit of subtext there, which I liked. So, you know, it was a very well structured issue. It felt like it was a lot of movement and momentum constantly, a lot of jumping around the characters, but they all were interlinked the entire time, and you always understood what the goal was. It felt really focused. So my minor quibbles of like, oh, Babs like jumping to I need to give myself up really quickly, and that one little weird dialogue moment with Batman and Alfred in his head aside, and one of the things you brought up that I've been loving about this, but maybe my favourite thing about this run so far is that constant sense of the status quo of Gotham. And the book never lets you forget it. Like this idea of what Savage is up to, that Gordon's a beat cop right now, the turning tide, like, you know, that entire last issue was about Savage, you know, warming up to Ivy in her mayor position and getting her on board with all this shit. So it feels like the sense of Gotham as a whole has been really present throughout this run, and I'm still really digging that.
For the first time in a very long time, it feels like Gotham's hostile, like to the bats. You know, and that also goes in, like we have that scene in the last issue where Batman goes to that neighborhood and is seen out in public talking with people to let him know, like, oh, he's not this big scary guy. He's trying to win over the hearts and minds. So the fact that they're playing on that different level, you know, that Fraction is. And then you have this one where it just feels like Gotham is trying to swallow the bats.
Yeah, well, but maybe specify not the people of, because it's not Gotham, it's the police of Gotham, right? So,
right.
Because I'm thinking, like you were saying there, like him going out and making sure he's seen and talking to regular people. Like, I do wonder what the vibe of the regular people is right now, and that's maybe something we're going to play with through those characters we've set up prior. So, no, interesting stuff, and yeah, so you know, Damien loves pushing a trigger to set off an explosion because he got a big smirk in his face as he sets off the bomb.
Yep.
But yeah, everyone's watching and reacting to Babs being shown on TV. And yeah, like as much as obviously everything's in continuity, I didn't think Barbara Gordon Breakout was going to be this like Elseworld or anything. I also don't think I was expecting it to be like, oh no, this is going to be completely set up in the main Batman book and be like like a part of the ongoing overall Bat story. So that's kind of cool that it's actually like an essential part of that now.
That's when she allows herself to get arrested, I was like, oh, this is what's leading into that book. Okay. And again, this feels like it might also be a bit of civil disobedience on her part. Right, where she, you know, even if they are the law, if the law is corrupt, that makes it immoral type of stuff. And I don't think of a better member of the Bat family to make that case than Barbara Gordon. You know, her dad was police commissioner, and she, you know, as far as the public knows, she was a librarian, right? So like this lady working with the bats to make Gotham a better place.
Also,
you know,
I would like to point out that when she was arrested, she had her hands up and was surrendering, but when they take her out of the truck, her glasses are broken and she's got a bloody lip. So it's suggesting some excessive force that was not called for.
Yes.
Unless she felt like a bit of a fight in the van or something on the way over and she was getting rowdy. But I mean, there's nothing to suggest
the way that her lips busted, it definitely feels like someone backhanded her because she was talking mess back to him.
Yeah.
or whatever. So, or maybe she gave it just a good headbutt, and that's not her blood. You know, someone tried to get in close to her, and she, boom. You know, but yeah, it seems like a big deal. Barbara Gordon getting arrested, which feels nice.
Yeah,
right? This doesn't feel like just the cliffhanger, and we'll resolve it in the next one. Even if we didn't know that there was a series coming out of it, like a mini.
No, this feels like a big deal. This feels like back in those 2000s era, like constant back continuity days. This is what that feels like. And you know, the fact that we are getting a series out of it is cool, but like at the same time, it just feels like, you know, another big stepping stone in what the overall story is. So super excited to see where this goes. The art from Sook is not bad. Like, you know, I think there's nice momentum to it and all the actiony stuff and it cutting around. I will say, I probably said this last time, but just there's kind of a sort of flatness to his faces that I don't love. So I'm not like over the moon with the art, but it's definitely doing an okay job in all the other ways that it needs to flow.
I appreciate that he kept the Jimenez design for Babs, right? The turtleneck, with the bluish teal, you know. It's like her design. I appreciate that. But yeah, kind of the flat faces. Some of the Robin stuff, his Robin looks a little bit off to me.
Yeah.
You know, but other than that, I do think all the action is super good. I love his Steph and Signal. I think both look really good. You know, it helps that their faces are kind of covered, so it takes away some of the flatness, adds a bit more depth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, specifically with her hoods up and her masks up. Yeah, she looks fine.
Yeah. So, you know, but no, I as long as they keep delivering on the action, I'm fine with Sook on this. His Batman looks great too. So, yeah. Like I say, I love a good focused issue where it feels like it's all revolving around one nice coherent event, and this is all this one night of them trying to fix all this stuff and get to all these locations, even though the villains are going to be out looking for them, and just the immediate tension from that, I think, is all really well handled. Just those couple of minor nitpicks, and that's it. So, Matt, what are you giving Batman issue 9? I'm giving Batman issue 9 a 9.
Woo! I'm going to be slightly harsher and say 8.5, just for those nitpicks that I mentioned, which did rub me the wrong way a little bit, but otherwise, though, loving the progression and everything it's set up. So, cool. Now, Fractions runs continuing to be up my alley, I have to say.
Yep.
So, cool. Absolute Superman, issue 19, Jason Aaron writing with Rafa Sandoval on the art. So, last issue introduced Black Adam, also introduced Absolute Steel, and we get pretty much this issue is from his perspective, actually. We get a little bit of his backstory of having to, like, he's supposed to be fixing the machinery, but then is told to, like, go and kill the cattle at his job, you know, from months ago, with his big hammer. So, yeah, not very pleasant, but yeah, I mean, if nothing else, this issue establishes how powerful Black Adam is, because he punches Superman so quick that he goes flying to a different state without realizing the punch is coming.
Yeah. There's a little piece in Steele's monologue there where he talks about the technology that he gave to Lazarus, that they brought him in to develop, and then they stole it from him, and now he's in working at this, you know, slaughterhouse.
Yes.
You know, because that was the only job afterwards. You know, and that adding just to the bleakness of this universe. You know, like we have these big corporate entities taking people for granted, right? And he's there, you know, not only like he ended up helping Superman, but that's not why he was there. He was there to put that hammer into Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
You know?
He has grievances, one might say.
Yes.
With how he was treated.
and if he can help Superman along the way, he's going to, which, you know, I do love how that, but yeah, and you instantly get how far away Superman gets knocked to, and with the power level that we're dealing with King Shazam. Yeah,
because I don't think this is the first time John's met Superman. I don't think he cares about him yet. I'm sure he'll come to care about him, but right now he's just a stranger, so... yeah, so yeah, Black Adam's kind of pissed, and he's like, wait, how long has it been? How many years has it been? Who's Pharaoh right now? Is one of his questions. And you know, I think it's Ra's al Ghul's the only one that can actually speak to him, starts like talking to him. And yeah, I mean, tensions are high, needless to say. Talia is pissed that they had this superpowered being in their basement the entire time. Why would we try to dick around with Superman? And Raz is like, well, because I thought Superman can be controlled. This guy is not.
No, yeah, he's not. This is like we're screwed. Like the sense of not terror, but like Raz, like, okay, I got to get him on my side. That's the only thing to do. Like if he is cutting loose, we're absolutely screwed. There's not going to be any reining him in. So just like that sense of urgency from Raz, I think translated really well. And then we find out why, right? Because Raz tries to talk to King Shazam. And when he tells him it's been 3,000 years and that he was only the king for like 9 days, right? He does some weird magical or technological thing where he ends up creating I guess it's lightning, right?
Yeah, lightning.
And and he surrounds Ra's al Ghul with it, and Raz gets chopped. Like he is in pieces at the end here. So try Lazarus spinning out of that one. I don't think you can.
Yeah, because there's that detail when he wakes up where he's like, oh, the world's so noisy now. Because like electricity didn't exist the last time he was around. Cars didn't exist. All these things that are making noise. And Superman tries to talk him down. That's when he gets punched because he's like, hey, I know it's disorientating. There's a lot of noise on this planet. And then boom, Wyoming. I love when he comes back, though, when Superman comes back and we get that 2-page spread of what looks like them fighting through every floor of the skyscraper they're in, where you can just sort of see this blur of the lightning going through every single floor until they come out the top.
Yeah, and the glass that's being pushed out of the building.
At the sides,
on both sides. Yeah, just it looks so good. Like I had to go back and look at this page multiple times.
There's a neat touch
because there's so many details.
Yeah, there's a neat touch here where it does like a red outline of those windows at the front, just to draw your attention to that's where they're actually moving through. But then, like you said, there's all these other details at the glass at the sides. There's a couple of like specific panels that highlight specific punches or like close-ups of their faces. But yeah, you get the sense of them fighting through the building and coming out the top. It's probably the best moment in the book from an art perspective is this 2-page layout.
Yeah.
Fighting greatly ensues. Also, Lois is about to assassinate Talia in the back of the head, and Superman actually has to swoop back down to stop her and like crush her gun and be like, "Yeah, Lois, come on." we're not...
do. Yeah. I love that he swipes it away from her and like the cape's surrounding all of them. And like Talia is wrapped up in all those rocks or metal or whatever it is. And then he just gives Lois the crumpled gun back. He's like, here's your gun. And she goes, Cal, and it's just like, it's sinking in what she was about to do.
Yeah, and Talia taunts her and says, you just disappointed your precious alien. Face it, we're both our father's daughters. And she's like, shut up, Talia. Which gave me a chuckle. No, that's fun. Now, all the art here, I really like, just because obviously you get that really inky black of like Shazam's like sort of like kind of mist cape, kind of like Superman's red mist cape, but the opposite.
Yeah, it's like the shadow version of it, you know? But it puts him in like this cloud of smoke. Yeah,
and just darkness, but it makes the yellow lightning really pop. Off the top of it, so that's really good.
And Cal comes to talk to him, and he's like, "Hey, you speak my language? How?" And he's like, "Well, a little. I did, for the lack of, for lack of time. I just read really a lot and route memorization, right? That's what he says. I read a bunch of books at super speed. So he speaks a little old Egyptian, to trying to communicate with Adam, which I do like. So again, it's showing the Superman learning, like, hey, we got to communicate. He's keeping that going from, the book.
Yeah, but of course he's like, hey, this world needs to be corrected, and Superman's like, hey, no, it's like there's problems, sure. But Black Adam's like, look, I hear screaming. It's not like, all this stuff is stopped. There's things out there that are bad right now that I'm going to help take care of. We also get Steel looking up and watching this in his welder's suit and basically zooming off with his jet boots to sort of like get involved with the fight. Because Black Adam and Superman do start fighting. The hammer comes in, and we get another big 2-page layout of them basically fighting in the sky, zooming over different locations. So they go past like Brazil, Paris. They go over Gotham at one point. You see Batman and the absolute Batman in the rooftops, just kind of like looking up and being like, "What the hell? What's that?"
I love how the sky is red though too, right? Just like for what that means. in terms of DC continuity, but like here it's just like, oh no, just two of the biggest forces on Earth right now are tussling. You know, and yeah, they land on a beach, and Superman doesn't look like he's doing so well.
Yeah, I mean, Black Adam's outfit's pretty torn as well.
Yeah.
Steel looks exhausted. And then, of course, Absolute Hawkman, who's more of a villain, shows up. And the cliffhanger is basically just like a four-way standoff with all four of them, where Hawkman's like, hey, this superhero thing's kind of it's kind of worn out. And so, yeah, I mean, we'll see how that wraps up next time. So it's a very action-heavy issue where there's obviously some confrontation at the start and the middle, but once the fighting starts, like, it is just like Sandoval just going wild with the art and having fun with that. So, but there's some big moments in there for characters as well, particularly Lois and Steel, I think, more than anyone.
Yeah, I do like when Steel pops up, right? And he's got like the mask is all torn, but his the hammer staying right up, and then the way the Hawkman enters and is just like nobody listens to me anyways. I've been doing this for 80 years, so tell me, kid. And that's what it says. Is it me, or was this a superhero thing that got out of hand? And yeah, and he's got his big old mace, and Steel has the hammer, and then the other two just have their fists glowing, and it feels like this big epic moment.
Honestly, the only, I guess, not even a critique, but just sort of like, this is kind of nerdy power question, I suppose.
Yeah.
But the idea that Steel's jet boots can keep up with Superman and Black Adam, like zooming across the sky, felt a little bit weird to me.
So the way that I took that is their capes, right, trapped him, right? So he's just along for the ride.
He's caught up in the winds of it. He's just kind of along for the ride. All right, okay, I can live with that.
He's just kind of along for the ride because he talks about how they reach Super Tommy thing and his eardrums burst. So it's like definitely his suit's not supposed to be doing all of this. And yeah, and just the way that they're there, and just the fact too that this issue is called The Reign of the Supermen. And we got Steel. We got four of them at the end here. Like, I was like, oh, Aaron, yeah, that's how you lean into something like that.
But yeah, redemptive Ra's al Ghul is dead. So he was turning over a new leaf, but he's already gone. He's been ripped in half. Now, maybe Talia is going to drag him to a Lazarus pit and force a return, but...
If I can get a Cronenberg version of Ra's al Ghul, that's just body parts where they're not supposed to be. Like,
yeah, what if his legs accidentally going backwards, so he's walking around all funky?
And like I wouldn't put it past Aaron, because like what we've seen with his Brainiac and how body horror that gets, right? But yeah, I don't know. I feel like we've seen this, Roz is done now, and now Talia, who was talking to his head like flipping Hamlet there when Lois sneaks up on her. Definitely feel like there's been a change in the DCU, right? The hierarchy
of power in the absolute universe has changed.
Yeah, God, I love partnering.
It literally has, because Raz was the big bad. He was the big villain, at least in the Superman book, and now it's okay.
It is, right? And
That's funny.
I just love the countering of Superman with King Shazam, where the stories are so similar, but like. It seems like King Shazam took over Egypt and Kahndaq for 9 days before, Roz and whoever else was able to contain him to that, So, like, I want more of that story as well to see, like... I
think we'll get... I mean, we're just starting with Black Adam. I think we're going to get more flashbacks to...
But it was just like, well, what did they do to contain him? And did that inform with how they were going to deal with Superman, right? He was like, well, we couldn't contain this guy. Maybe we could talk to him. And that's why he would try to bring in Cal as, he's the son of the demon here, because it didn't work with Adam. They had to get to these. And then you have Hawkman here, who's just like world weary. He's done bad things. He knows he's done bad things. He's like, all right, which guy's heads am I going to have to tear off? So I just love the balance of personalities here at the end.
Yep. Fun time. And I'm excited to see more of this Black Adam stuff throughout. So, yeah, just a good, exciting issue. A lot of adrenaline in there. What are you giving Absolute Superman, Matt?
I'm giving this one an 8.5.
I think I agree with that. 8.5 for me as well. Very, very good. Having a good time of books so far. Absolute Green Lantern, issue 14, Al Ewing writing with Sid Kotian on the art. So we had kind of not fill-in issue, but you know what I mean? We had that kind of like standalone issue last time.
The standalone where we're picking up on Rand. We got Shade the Change in Man as a Black Heart.
That's right.
Black Star,
yes.
And a Black Heart. And now we're shifting back to the Lantern stuff. And I got to give the colorist credit here, because when this book kicks off and they're in this void space and you have all of the different people draped in that color, like it looks great. Like, they're not like these bright colors, but they're not also muted. Like the way that the colors are balanced, and like the red's almost an orange, right? So it feels a bit off, right? It's not this deep red.
I mean, I would say it is an orange. I would say it's almost an orange, definitely an orange. I mean, it's obviously against black, so everything's popping very well, even without being too vibrant. But I do like in the first page though, because it's doing that thing with the black ring, or it's the white ring in the black space. And it's it's talking to Jordan. It's like, Cal Jordan, you must be this, you must be that. But because he's now like turned into this violet light, it's like Oa doesn't understand that, so it keeps saying unknown in that color whenever it doesn't know what to say. And then we see like one little glimmer of like a violet like gem at the bottom. So it's just kind of teasing this idea of the mystery of what he's become and how that's disrupting the natural order of things in this system.
Yeah. I like there too where it's addressing him, says you must be, and it says unknown entirely, and then in the parentheticals unknown, and that's where you see that violent like little gem at the bottom. It says, I am the secret heart within every star, know thee, and it says unknown, know me. And it's just like, okay, so this is a different level than even Oa's used to. So what does this mean for Jordan?
Yeah,
like what did he unlock?
Because the things we kind of get to in this issue is that, so Tomar Ray's got them inside the Green Lantern, which also means they're in kind of this void of Oa, which they're all talking to. So John's here, Guy's here, Joe's here. Joe's got a headache. And it turns out that Tomar Ray, who refers to Joe as Tomar Joe, and she's like just Joe, and he calls her just Joe, which I thought was funny, right?
Yes.
But it turns out that he was waiting a long time for a green anomaly, right? A green Tomar. Because he can't pilot a Green Lantern. He needs a Green Lantern to do that. So he's basically using Joe and channeling through her to pilot this thing so they can go and take out Mogo. That's what they're doing right now. So, but you realize that she's been kind of piggybacked in this way, and that's why she's got a headache, and that's kind of building up through the issue. So I thought that was a really interesting little reveal, even though they all want to go back. I actually love that she's like, no, I want to go back and get Cameron. Like, what the hell? We just left them there.
Yeah. And then also like the fact that they're in this space, they're almost, as I think that it's John that's kind of like, we're kind of standing in the doorway. We're neither in Oa nor exactly in the ship. However, if something happens to the ship that closes that thing and it kills them, because Tomar Ray talks about that's what had happened on his home planet when we find out that his mom was a red, right? She had that red power and the whole restraint, and she passed it on to him. Although the way that he tells the story doesn't match the art, which I thought was curious.
Yeah, because
he said that he was...
He says he stole it, but then the panel shows her sort of like, basically spitting it into his mouth, for lack of a better term.
Regurgitating it, yeah. And stuff. And then so shows that that's how he ended up with it. And then we see what happened to his planet, where Mogo came and obliterated that and the Green Lantern that was there, right? So it seems like the Zudarian planet's gone in the Absolute Universe because of all of this, and that he might be the last one, and that's where all of this is coming from, which I do like, because that fits in with what we know about the Red Lanterns from the traditional, so Ewing's kind of putting into that. But he mentions to Joe that the main power of the Red is restraint, and he's able to pass that through her, and that's how he's able to take control of the Green, and when she tries to push back, and it's like, well, yeah, but on the order list, Green's above Red. He goes, yeah, but if you look at the other way, from the
Black Star,
or whatever they call the Black Lantern, the Black Star, the Dark Star, Red's above Green, so it's like they cancel each other out, which I thought was just fun. That's Ewing just dropping more of this in there and just kind of utterly confusing me to see how these levels work.
Yeah, I was liking some of that, because it felt like through the conversation it was getting a bit easier to understand. Not all of it. I'm not saying there's still not questions or things, but it definitely felt like there was some of that, and I do love that it does cut back down to Chase and Baz, and we get like a bit of a scene of them like sort of like going, well, you know, one talking about the fact that the others just disappeared out of this Green Lantern ship, but also the fact that they go and grab Todd Rice's unconscious body and have to like sort of like face off against like a SWAT team from Hector Hammond, and they have to drive a car through them and all that. So we get like a little action scene with them. So it makes them still feel like an important part of the book, even though they're not kind of with the others right now, which is nice. And it looks good as well, actually. I thought that panel of the car coming out and hitting the SWAT team was a nice, like, it was kind of a badass moment for Chase, because, like, Baz is, like, holding on to, like, Todd Rice, and he's like, Cameron, where are you? And she comes zooming out in the car. It's a fun moment.
And also we get Simon with the car stuff, like, in the main continuity, you know, where he talks about he built these, and it's reinforced, so they can shoot at it all they want, they're going to be fine, you know, so just get out of there, you know. He says a howitzer, he could take a shot from a howitzer and it wouldn't rattle our teeth. So, you know, I do like that. That's real cool. But it talks about how Limbo's dead, and, you know, Joe and Jordan are with the bird guy with an agenda we can't imagine. They could be light years away. So she's on her own. So she's thinking of Joe just as much as Joe's thinking of Chase, which I do like for their relationship.
Yeah, that's very nice. It kind of grounds it and gives you a human thing to care about, you know, outside of the big mythology stuff, which is obviously a little confusing. You try to get your head wrapped around it and all that. Yep. And so Tomar Ray's whole thing is that he is going to use the Green Lantern to destroy either Mogo or the Darkstar, but I guess Mogo. And
it's Mogo.
He's going after that. And he talks about the Green Lantern being a gun, and John points that out, wait, if you're calling the Green Lantern a giant gun, then what's the ammunition? And then he reveals that he's talking about all of the people, all the other people in Oa, and we finally see like all these floating bodies that are in Oa, in this state of mind, or the state of being. And it's like, wait, you're just going to use all them? You're going to sacrifice all these people? And yeah, so he's like, yeah, you're going to stop me even with that gold power. So yeah, I mean, the big ending to the issue though is when they get to like they get near, was it Tamara? They get near
Ran.
Was it Ran?
Well, they're coming up on Ran. Yeah, they said they just passed Ran.
Sorry. There's another book this week where people go to Tamaran. I'm mixing my books up. But yeah, like basically they start sending some dark stars up to get to them with the big mutant Resident Evil style arms. And Joe's trying to fight the control of Tomar in her head. And the big cliffhanger is like, as this is all going on, Joe starts fighting back. So the big final splash page is her just like decking Tomar Ray with a giant Green Lantern fist.
Yep.
So
God, it looks so good.
Oh, it looks great.
You got like the dark star behind them giving like this edge of the light, you know, like almost an atmosphere coming off of him. And so there's this white streak that's behind her, and then the green clashing with the red, and just it's Kotian.
Yeah, it's almost in direction of the momentum of the page. So with that rim really like directs your eye into the punch. Yep. And then it swings up. So it's good stuff.
And it's doing all the stuff with the negative space with the white in there as well. So again, just the colorist working overtime on this one. So, which is, I looked up the name, is Prasad Rao. Funny enough, it's Rao, like the Kryptonian, you know, thing.
Oh, they've said Rao before, because I remember pointing that out way back in like issue, I don't know, 4 or 5, whenever they brought that up.
Oh yeah, but yeah, the colorist here is Prasad Rao, so I thought that's a fun coincidence there. But yeah, no, just the colorist working with Sid Kotian, making this book just pop. Because again, they're not like these what we associate with traditional Green Lantern, like these bright, heavily, you know, like I don't want to say neon. They're much brighter against the darkness, kind of like what you think of like with space and all this. These are a bit more muted and more natural, so it just it gives us a certain style that I appreciate.
Yeah, and the whole conflict here is that, you know, Joe's saying that she's stronger than him, not even just because green beats red, but and he's like, what, are you kidding me? I've suffered so much. I'm older than you. I'm wiser than you. I've been doing all this. And then that's when she punches him at the end. So, you know, it's a whole big moment. And we've got this conflict on the inside of the Green Lantern / Oa. And then in the outside, you've got the Black Stars coming up to like pick a fight. So yeah, everything's kind of like coming to some kind of a big culmination here soon for this first story, I expect. So excited to see how that all plays out. Because even once this is done, we still have to deal with Todd Rice and Hector Hammond and all that back on Earth. So
yeah,
what's going on?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Yeah, can't really praise the coloring enough in the book. But Matt, what are you giving Absolute Green Lantern?
I'm giving this an 8.5.
I'm actually going to go straight 8. Straight 8.
All right.
It's really good. It's really good. But maybe just not quite as good as the other two books we've already talked about. That's basically it.
Gotcha.
But really digging it though. Really digging it, and I like I like the clash of the more personal like character stuff, and then the big kind of like confusing mystical space stuff. Like I like kind of like that. Not one's been left behind in favor of the other.
Yeah, I like that a Green Lantern book is heady, right? Like you got to stop and think about a lot of this stuff. It's not just color wars and different tribes and whatever in groups. It's just like, no, just because they're different colors doesn't mean they're not on the same side.
Yes, 2001, An Absolute Odyssey. See, I'm smart.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, very good. All right. Batgirl, issue 19, legacy number 224, Tate Brombal writing with Takeshi Miyazawa on the art. And this one wraps up this 3-part arc where we've been into Spirit World and we'll be going to the tower so that Cass can hopefully get this curse removed, the blood curse that she got, through no fault of her own, might we add. So that's very much what this says. It does wrap everything up.
Mm-hmm.
We do get the briefest of reunions in the final page with the rest of the Bat family, which kind of annoyed me a little bit, not just because it was brief, although I would have liked a little bit more, but it was the fact that Cass, it sounded like she wasn't even going to go and see them. It's only because the Bat family showed up where she's like forced into being like, okay, meet my families, all right, intermingle. So I would have liked a bit more of that because it's kind of what I've been looking forward to, and half a page was not,
No, way less of this blood stuff, and it's just like, I love, like, The Immortal Iron Fist is one of my favorite books of all time. I love different ninja clans clashing and fighting over the fates of things. But you threw Cassandra Cain in there, and we've done it for however many issues we've been doing it, and I'm just over. I'm glad the blood stuff's over.
Mm-hmm.
This always felt tacked on. I don't understand still why we went to Spirit World. And yeah, I'm glad it's over. That's it. Yeah, and then they try to tie it in to KO with the reason that the curse gets put on her is because of Superman, because of the imbalance. There's a surplus of life-altering alpha energy. And yeah, and I was just like, okay, cool. Let me just Cass wielding the blood. That's cool. She wins. What are we doing now? How is she? Let's get back. Let's get back to what we were doing.
Yeah, she got rid of the blood curse, and it's basically like a technicality where the uncle character, who they kind of went through to get into Spirit World, he seems to turn on them for the sake of the blood demon or whatever the thing's called, but he comes back and then basically argues his point that because this is like the family's tried to betray you outside in this imbalance with her getting cursed without her will or without her like agreeing to it should also be fixed, and basically just argues it on a technicality, and the blood demon's like, yeah, very well, we'll do that, but Cassandra Cain, you owe me one day I'll call upon you, and she's like, yep, cool.
Maybe one day. Yeah. I do like the settlement for that was a business clause where it's like, no, look, at the end of the day, this family is like a business, and he went into business for himself, talking about his dad trying to change things around, and that's what he appeals to the blood god. Was like, look, she didn't do any of this, he was the one that messed around on you, so let me take responsibility here, let's make it right. So I do appreciate there was some clarity there. It was just the accoutrement around it. That said, I do like what Brombal does here with the idea that Cass's blood is a curse, right? Because we know that's how she feels because of Shiva and Cain, being her dads, and like her chosen family is the Bats, and now she has Tenji, and all of that. And so the idea that she finally gets to shed this tie of blood and get rid of it. I didn't need all the mystical stuff to do all that. This could have been a family therapy session, really, at the end of the day, and her talking it out with one of the other Bat family members. Yeah, I think I almost would have appreciated that more.
There's some fun action here. I think the maybe the problem is that it's a bit of a double-edged sword. On the one hand, despite spending all this time with Kenji and Jaya, I still feel like the relationships with them are a little undercooked. But also, this whole idea that she's like drawn between this new family that she's discovered she has and the Bat family, and then that's what the ending gets at, is that she's going to finally mix them together, it's been very one-sided, but by not having any of those Bat family connections be remotely kind of represented, or she's not really talked to anyone to sort of represent that side. Even if it's just a one-on-one conversation with Steph or something like that. So at the end, when it's like, oh, that's been the point of all this, is her kind of like realizing she has this family of her brother, of Jaya, and like that being like a separate branch of her, but an equally valid branch as to the Bat family, and how to have both of those at the same time. It felt kind of weird that, like, I don't know, we've been doing all this stuff, and some of the action in this issue is pretty fun. Yeah. There's some nice moments where Cass does like a big pose or something, and she's using the blood to help fight her and all that stuff. And it's perfectly solid. The art's good and all that, but it does feel like we spend a lot of time doing that, and a lot of time talking about the rules of this blood pact, than actually advancing the relationships that she has with these other characters. So I don't know. I guess I would have liked to have dialed it back on the needless fantasy action and have more actual character development.
Like, if they were going to go that way and they had made it, this is something that Shiva had done, right? Almost like her thinking that she was never going to have kids. And so she had passed this curse on to Cass inadvertently. You know what I mean? Something like that. When they threw in the alpha energy BS, I was just like, oh, come on, man. This is just lazy. Make it mean something if you're going to have it, go through this. Like, we're already going to Spirit World, but you're going to make it because of the alpha energy creating an imbalance.
Yeah.
That I wasn't a big fan of. But that said, there's a thing in here where they say, like, essentially blood makes you related, but loyalty makes you family. And I do feel like that's here when we see Tenji and Steph shaking hands, and she goes, family, this is my family. I do like that bridging, is that, that is what matters to Cass the most. These are the people that are here for her, and so that's what, the meeting of the families here at the end. I do like that sentiment. I just wish the road to get there was a little bit less wonky.
Yeah, I just wish it wasn't doing so much fantasy crap that I just don't care for. Like, I didn't really want to go into Spirit World and deal with blood packs and blood curses. Even just like doing the stuff with like the with the mystical land that they were in last arc, where it was all about protecting this place and the poppies. Like, that got a little bit tiring, and like a lot of the supporting characters started to just blend together in my head. And yeah, I mean, even in this issue, I was still having to remind myself who the guy was that was with them. I'm like, oh, he's the guy that's like his body was used to come here, kind of thing.
Yep. The Blood Master.
So I don't know. I just not loving the actual plot right now, even though I'm liking the characters, and I wish that more time was spent on that. I mean, I do like that, when Steph and that show up, she just says Batgirl, and then Cass turns around and goes Batgirl. Yeah. I like that they both call each other Batgirl.
Yeah.
That's a fun bit.
I like all that. I do. But yeah, I want an issue of Tenji meeting the rest of the Bat family. I know this is Batgirl, that's the book, but I want to see this sheltered kid meeting these people. He has no idea who they are. You know what I mean?
Sadly, I don't think you're going to get it. I think next issue we're going to be onto a new arc, and it'll happened off panel, between books. It's like, oh, he's met them, but we're not going to actually go into it and see it.
Because I do, like, he was a character that I was annoyed with at first, but I like his interaction with Cass, where almost it is a yin and yang thing, where he was the one that was raised by the family to be, the sheltered, only use your powers when you need to. It's that discipline of martial arts, versus Cass, who was raised to be a weapon. So the way that they interact with each other, and just him going and wanting to be friends with all these people, whereas Cass was very hesitant and careful, and it's taken her time. I feel like there's potential there, and I feel like you're right. Like, we're not going to get that. That makes me sad.
Yeah, I just the more because I was alright with a little bit of like the unburied that were hunting her in the first arc.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mind that they were a little bit mystical, but I hate how this book has become more and more mystical as it's went along, and that's not what I want from it. I don't like. I have no interest in Iron Fist. I don't care about Iron Fist, and I don't want that stuff in my back. I don't want that stuff in my Cassandra Cain book. I want Cassandra Cain to be a fighter in the real world where she's taking on, I don't know, crime bosses and stuff. I don't know. I'm a little frustrated with the what the plots keep being right now. Even though I love a lot of the art quality. I love like a lot of the writing in terms of how the dialogue and stuff works. Mm-hmm. It's just it keeps doing plots that I'm not that interested in, and I just wish it would stop doing that.
Well, and even me, who I do like that mystical stuff, this is just, it's so, Brombal's doing it so unwieldy. Like, again, like when you talk about when magic and stuff shows up, you like when there's rules and there's clear and concise. And again, in other books that I've read with this type of stuff, when you're starting to get to the mystical elements of martial arts, there are rules. And here we're just like, oh, blood god. All right, we're in the spirit world. Oh, this is how this is playing out. And I'm just like, there's so much here that's being left on the table, things that are more interesting. We're just not doing it because we're rushing to an ending. And so I just looked up what the next issue is about, and I fear you're correct, Pete. We're just moving on.
Yep. I'm almost sure of it. Is it at least something that doesn't sound mystical, Matt?
Yes. She's investigating a death.
Good. Yeah, a murder mystery.
More true crimey.
Yeah, great. That's what I want. Give me that at least.
And we're gonna have Steven Segovia on art for that issue.
Okay,
too.
That's not bad.
So Miyazawa getting a little bit of a break.
That's not bad at all. All right, Matt, what are you giving Batgirl 19?
I'm gonna give this, and this is gonna seem a bit brutal because you know how I grade things. I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
Yeah, I'm just gonna 6. You know, there's things to like in there, but like I'm glad this spirit world journey to the mystical tower is over.
I was reading this on vacation while watching a hockey game, and I was like, I don't have to finish it, but I made myself finish it. You know, I was like, I'll finish it when I get back home, and I was like, you're not going to if you put this down. So I powered through.
Ah, dear. You gotta get a party together and travel to the tower to defeat the dark wizard or whatever the enemy is. Bleh. All right.
Fellowship, if you will.
I wasn't trying to throw out strays at any particular franchise.
Look, everything that could be summed up with that was from Clerks 2 when he says even the trees walked in that movie. So, you know, I feel your pain there, Pete.
Yeah, I don't want to agree with anything that Kevin Smith's ever written, no, so that's not make me do that.
I know.
All right, Poison Ivy, issue 44, WIllow Wilson writing with Jaime Infante? Let me pull it up. I'm pulling up the thing. It is Infante. There you go. That sounds right.
So you were close.
So yeah.
Yeah. So
this is just you, Matt. On you go.
Just me. So yeah, more money, more problems, but in this case, more responsibility, more problems. And Ivy is realizing that when you become mayor, you can't just do what you want. There are guidelines. There is a city council, and she don't like that because when she wants to change things, she feels I should just do them. And so the last issue ended with Undine grabbing her and was like, "Hey, we got to go. Something has manifested in Robinson Park." And it's this member of the Parliament of Trees. My iPad will cooperate. I can pull the book up instead of staying on Batgirl. There we go. And it's a member of the Parliament of the Trees called the Hill. So he's this big, huge hill with this, you know, face made out of rocks. And basically he's like, I like you, Ivy. You know, we share similar causes when it comes to humanity and the Parliament, but they are pissed that you killed the Bog Venus. And if they can get their hands on your little friend, who's calling her the Ghost Pipe Girl, because that was the plants that Pam had channeled to save her. If they could, they would tear you both apart and reassemble Bog Venus. And I was just like, yeah, you know what? You can tell the Parliament that if they want to deal with me, they can come and talk. And he's like, we defeated her fair and square. And Peter Undine, she goes to leave and she like dismisses the Hill. And Undine's like, yo, you can't talk to them like that. Like, they're still the parliament. Like, the last thing you need on your plate in dealing with being mayor is this group of demigods coming after you. And essentially she walks away pissed off and is like, yeah, they'll stay out of Gotham. They know better. And Undine looks at the Hill and is like, yeah, her hubris is going to be her downfall. And the Hill's just like, why is she so angry all the time? And this is the sentence in the book that I feel really hits what G. Willow Wilson's trying to work with this, is that Undine's like, disappointed idealists are always angry, which is why I'm a cynic, much far less to fall, right? And so this constant idea that no matter what Ivy does, no matter what the world shows her, she thinks that she has this idyllic, like, way of about things, and she's going to try to keep getting there, and no matter what, it's going to push back. So Undine has fit into this being like, look, I'll play the cards as they come, and that's why he's still like this businessman with the flower face, right? There's a bit of humanity to him, but mostly he's just kind of given into one side, versus Ivy, who's still trying to ride both, right? She wants to be mayor, but she also wants to make things better for the earth. And I feel like Wilson's thing is like, if she keeps straddling both sides, she'll never be who she needs to be. And that goes to here where Robinson Park, a guy is leaving that works as like one of the rangers there, because I'm assuming Robinson Park in Gotham is like Central Park in New York City. And like, he's one of the caretakers. He keeps everything. He's leaving. Is like, she's like, no, where are you going? I'm the mayor. You don't leave. Who fired you? He's like, oh, the budget cuts from before you came in. Like, they cut all of the access to like green spaces. And so Ivy's like, I'll handle this. And this is where she runs into the city council, and they push back against her. And she's like, yeah, no, I'm ending those budget cuts. We're going to get in there and fix them. It's your job as a city council to make this all work. You work for me. And there's this lady that stands up and is just like, yeah, no, you can't do this. It's not a dictatorship. And she warns Ivy that, crowds can turn on you. I wouldn't get too comfortable if I were you. And so Ivy takes that as a threat. The next day, the one girl that works in like, not PR, but she's like outreach for the interagencies, her name's Juhi, and Janet are kind of arguing that who's going to give Pam the bad news. And that the bad news ended up being that someone fed this tabloid called The Den the ongoings of the city council. So it looks like Ivy has no idea how to govern. And so Ivy's like, well, I know how I'm going to go do this. And first she yells at Juhi for not, getting out like ahead of it. And she's like, yeah, I'm not PR. I work for interagency. So if this went to someone else, but the press doesn't work for us. And Ivy's like, no, the press works for money. I know how to handle this. So she goes in, she gets onto the floor of this tabloid. It leads to this funny moment where she's in full Poison Ivy persona. And they all just look at her and they point to the editor-in-chief. So they get to talk, and he's like, yeah, no, my publisher, the guy that owns the paper, told me to print all this. He had inside information, and it's more valuable for us to run it than to not run it. And Ivy and him talk about kind of like the ethics of journalism, of like, yeah, the press is supposed to be this outside force. However, nowadays the press works for whoever is paying them, right? And that's a problem, because who's going to keep people accountable if the people that are burning things down from the inside are paying for the stories to get buried? So Ivy finds out that the publisher was friends with that tech lady that she murdered, that led to her becoming the mayor, the Marie Henley. So that is possibly the reason that he's running these stories. She sneaks into his mansion, and they end up talking about like, you think you're doing good, but it's kind of like what Undine was saying, is like, you're trying to be too many things to too many people, and that leaves you vulnerable. Take it from somebody like me. I'm old. I have money. I can do what I want because I know exactly who I am. Like, when you don't care about ethics, you can be as bad as you want to be. And Ivy's like, well, this was a nice talk, and now I don't feel bad that she's been releasing a toxin into the air as they've been talking. He's like, you'll just go to sleep and you won't wake up, and it'll be fine. And so she murders this guy, and it's another piece, proving right of the of what the story was saying about her. Like, she doesn't pay contractors, and she takes them out so she doesn't have to pay them. And yeah, that little orb thing comes up and shares the news with Juhi, which I'm still like not confused that there's still more here that needs to be talked about. But probably one of the biggest moments in this issue is Batman comes to talk to Janet, and she's sleeping in the mayor's mansion, right? He comes to the door. It's very Dracula, right? In the old Dracula movies where the girl's sleeping in the bed and, the curtains blowing with the wind and he's standing in the window. Batman does the same exact thing, and Janet's startled, but she's like, I came here to talk. I know you can get her a message. And she's like, well, no, because Janet says, you're Batman. You tell her yourself. She's like, yeah, but if it comes from me, she's not going to listen. She doesn't trust me. She trusts you. She needs to resign. The safety of Gotham is at stake. So she really cares about the city. She's going to resign. Pull the Order of the Green Knights off the streets. If she does leave, she's a free woman. And if she doesn't, Batman says he can't stop what's going to happen next. Right? So these pages are probably the best out of the artist, Jaime Infante. The way that he's leaning into the shadows and the silhouettes and the playing with Batman, like you never see his full face. Everything's in shadow. It's the Batman silhouette with the pointy ears, And again, definitely pulling from Dracula, which I kind of enjoy. But the issue ends with Ivy bringing the Hill some food in the form of that billionaire that owned the tabloid. And he's like, yeah, I brought you a snack. And she's like, it's better for me if his body's never found. They'll know I killed him, but it buys me some time. And so he agrees. And the Hill's like, hey, just to let you know, you got more enemies than just the Parliament. And Ivy finishes it by walking away, being like, look, let them all come. I've come too far. I've climbed too high to fall. And that's where the issue ends. So, Wilson, I feel like is not hiding the point of Pam as mayor now, kind of with the whole idea of the corrupting influence of the system, right? That no matter what Ivy tries to do, the system's going to pull her in. And now this is the second issue where she's killed somebody as mayor. And like, that's only going to happen for so many before they realize, like, you don't want to go meet with the mayor, right? Bad things happen. And she's just kind of embraced it. And I feel like this is almost a buffer to what happened with Batman, in those pages where she finally signs off, right? So I feel that's what we're building to, is something is eventually going to click with her. And I don't know what that's going to be. But yeah, the idea that all the enemies are coming, whether it's the people, it's Batman, it's the Parliament, it is now the city council. She has really made enemies of everybody. And there's not one safe spot for her. So it's like,
well, she's got a new alliance with the police commissioner, so that'll help with hiding all dead bodies, at least. So,
and again, I feel like this is what leads to her making that deal with Savage, right? So props to Wilson for that. And again, Infante's art is decent. It really soars when it's playing with the shadows. Again, with that Batman sequence, I thought was the strongest part of the book. But even when she goes to talk to the guy, to the billionaire dude, it's playing with heavy shadows, which is almost the inverse of Takara, where Takara likes to play with the light more, and that there's less shadows, more detail, has kind of the pastel quality of the colors. This is doing, like, again, the inverse of that, where it's really playing with shadow and the lack of light, and almost like Ivy's doing things in the dark, and plants need light. So, looking at it from that way, I feel like this issue really set all that up. So yeah, pretty fun issue. Pam just trying not to be a villain, but finding ways back into being the villain. I'm gonna give this a straight 8.
Okay. 8 out of 10 is That'll take us on to Superman, the Book of L, issue 8, Phillip Kennedy Johnson writing with Cian Tormey on the art. So not good Lusky, interestingly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was pretty down on the last issue of this. On issue 7. I can't say I feel that much better about this one. Like, it's still just kind of going through its motions, and I feel like I'm just kind of just riding along until it's going to reach its end, and I'm just not feeling a lot of these extraneous characters. And even though they had a cliffhanger last issue with this was it Pyros? I was going to say Pheasant. This Pyros guy. Like, when he first showed up again in this one, I'm like, who's this asshole? And I was like, oh wait, no. They literally did a cliffhanger with him last time.
Well, and I'm glad that Phillip Kennedy Johnson chose to give us Pyros's origin here, because I feel like even all the way back when we had that one issue that was like the Arthurian legend of Superman with all these different feuding factions, and we get Pyros as the one true son, and we come to find out that no, he's kind of a byproduct of magic, because of when one of his last stories, Phillip Kennedy Johnson did that with the Shadowlands, which was the girl, I'm trying to remember, that was like the daughter, I think, of was the daughter of Bruce and Talia from a different dimension or whatever. When Superman with Constantine to help solve that, this witch Circe was able to pull some of his essence and create a child with it. And I was like, okay, well, this makes sense for me as a Superman fan, that he didn't step out on Lois with Circe to have this kid, or, Lois was gone because of, human age and whatnot. That said, I am kind of, as much as I like the mythology at play here, this would be much better as a Wikipedia article. I could just read about the future of where Johnson wanted to go with the super families. Because, like, again, in the idea, I like. I don't know if he's executing it in a story that well.
I don't even know if I'm that into the ideas at this point anymore. Like, I loved his Warworld saga. I liked his action stuff post that. I think all this, Ronan, and then, Pyros and
Brandon.
Yeah.
Pyros, yeah.
Yeah. All these other characters, Kal-El and so on. There's just all these characters. Superman's like flying with a few of them, with Otho, and they're on their way to Tamara, and they end up encountering some action on like a base on the way there. So we get some action out of that. I guess the interesting part here is that the current queen or princess of Tamara is a member of the House of L. But she's kind of been held, her fiancé is kind of holding her captive and forcing her to do his bidding.
Yeah. Yep. The queen's consort.
Yeah.
For some reason, I just get the vibe you're Tamaranian, man. That was the blood of Princess Coriander. All right.
Half Kryptonian and half Tamaranian, but yes. she's answering to this. I guess it's an Tamaranian. Yeah.
I guess, yeah, but I don't know. He's wearing the sigil of the House of L, and I was like, all right, I am curious to see what this guy is up to, but I don't know. You're Tamaranian, blast him with a starbolt, right? You're the queen.
Well, here's the problem, though, is that this is actually an interesting setup that you've presented me with here. But the fact that you've just thrown this at me out of nowhere in issue 8 of a 12-issue book makes me think we're not going to have time to actually explore this and set it up enough that I actually understand the politics of this and why she feels that she has to go along with whatever he's saying and so on and so on.
It feels like he's a puppet of Krillix. I was just looking back here. So Krillix, is the main baddie here. And it feels like he is manipulating her into using Tamarin to almost provide a shield to whatever he's up to. So, he allows her to make the diplomatic envoy to to deal with the Warzoons, which are those the ones that Superman's hanging out with? I'm losing track because there's so many different factions here. And they're all very similar.
There's too many characters. this needed to be simplified a little bit. It need to be. That's the thing. We're talking about, Krillix is the main villain, and I would argue you're right. He is the main villain. But in this issue, we've got two other villains, and both of them are come out of relatively nowhere, right? Pyros was set up at the end of the last issue. Yeah. This guy in Tamara is set up here, and it's like, okay, so we're dealing with these two new villains effectively instead of Krillix, and it feels, I don't know, there's too much going on. It's become a bit of a chore to read because I'm having trouble remembering who a lot of these side characters are that are showing up. I don't know. I'm frustrated reading this. I really am, because Rowan and Ronan are on their own mission here, and yeah, they come across. I mean, oh, they encounter.
So they come across Pyros.
Yeah, they come across Pyros. Yeah, that's who they run into.
Yeah, they go to his realm, which looks like this, mythological. Looks like Atlas holding up the planet, right? And there's this sun and moon that look like they have different, like the sun has a face. I don't think the moon also has a face. So, and his realm's being held up by this guy, it kind of looks like Superman. And they show up and he's upset because they've taken over the Superman branding, if you will, right? Like Rowan, is that the boy? Hold on. Ronan has taken on the Superman persona, while Rowan has taken the Green Lantern, and he's upset because he feels like that should have been his. Yeah, I'm the soul right here. And I was like, this is too late to introduce this. We're in issue 8, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We're in issue 8. This is something that should have happened back in issue 2. For Pyros. And Pyros is doing stuff with magic, and that's where we get his origin and whatnot.
Honestly,
as they're doing stuff.
See if you told me that the story that he is telling throughout these 12 issues was something he had actually initially planned for like a 30-issue run of like Superman or Action or whatever, and he was told you can have 12 issues to finish it off what you were doing, and he said, all right, I still want to do everything that I had planned though, so I'm just going to squeeze it all in. Notes. That's what this feels like. It feels like we're just going through bits that are happening, and I feel no attachment to anything that's going on.
No, the one thing that I did was they talk about at the beginning the group that of the War Worlders, the descendants from them that Superman's with, where they talk about how he was the unblooded sword, and that they wield that sword in his memory and try not to cause blood with it because that's what Superman would want. And I like that idea. That is an idea that goes through but what he was playing with from, Warworld.
Yeah, but that's the problem, Matt, is that it's a string of ideas. It doesn't feel like it's actually, coalescing into a story. Like,
right. So when we see them raise the sword for Superman, like you're like, oh, this is a big moment. Versus anything with Pyros, who Pyros showed up in one issue in a thing that we thought was like an Elseworlds, and now he's, doing all of this stuff and taking up much more time that I'd rather be getting back to the Krillix of the story and the stuff of Aldrin.
The crux of the story.
The Krillix of the story. And it's taking away from that. And yeah, so again, I would love a Wikipedia article of this.
Yeah, I mean,
Phillip Kennedy Johnson's House of L.
There's a tease as to why the Tamaranians sort of been held under duress, where he leans in and says, "Hey, be careful, princess. You know who'll suffer if you act against me." So maybe she's got a kid that he's got kidnapped or something. He's got someone that she cares about, and that's why she's been forced to go along with everything. But it's not. Yeah, I'm just not feeling any of that. And then, it reveals the backstory for Pyros and the Circe Witch and that Constantine issue of Action. And that's pretty much it. I mean, the ending is that Rowan and Ronan have been taken captive by Pyros, and Rowan decides that she's going to try and use she's trying to summon her Green Lantern ring, even though it was taken from her. And Ronan decides that his little brainiac disc can maybe go over and infect one of the robots that are hanging around in Pyros's base, and that's what the cliffhanger is the robot kind of waking up.
Yeah. I do like that. Tell us, how do you know you won't kill us yourself? And he goes, I understand that this answer might be unwelcome, but I'm afraid that you do not. And then he wakes up, which that was a fun little cliffhanger.
Yeah.
You know,
what gets me about this is that this situation on Tamarin sounds good. It sounds conceptually like a good idea. You set up that we've got someone in a position of duress. There's a villain controlling the planet. Pardon me. And the super family are going to come in and like fight some battles. They're going to help with all that. But there's like so much setup you should be doing for that, and it feels so rushed. And you already know that it's going to be over by the end of issue 9. You know it's not going to linger beyond that because it can't, because we have to finish the whole story and we've only got 3 more issues left. There's no way we're doing the Tamarin stuff for more than 1 more issue. So, I don't know. I feel very underwhelmed. It feels like a chore to read. At this point, I'm reading it just to finish it. Not because I'm actually... I actively was not looking forward to reading this. It was the last thing I read and I kept putting it off and I just was like, okay, I need to get this done. I'm not enjoying reading it at all.
Yeah, again, I like seeing some of these ideas, but I forgot how this ended until I opened it just now. Right? So it is not sticking. And I read this as we recorded Saturday, but I think I read this Thursday just to get it out of the way. And yeah, it's not good.
Hey, Matt, I read this like maybe an hour before we came on to record, and I couldn't remember how it ended until I looked at it.
Gotcha. I don't feel as bad. Yeah, it's just a bummer because I love Phillip Kennedy Johnson for the most part, and this might be the worst thing of his that I've had the pleasure of reading.
Because I feel like, you know, like, I mean, my memory is kind of weird with comics where, like, if you ask me what happened in a book after, like, a little bit, I'll struggle, but the second I look at it, it'll all come flooding back to me, and that tends to happen. I'll be looking at the pages as we're talking, I'm like, oh yeah, this, and this, but I'm looking down at this one as we're talking about it, and I'm like, I don't know what character's on this page. I don't know why they're doing what they're doing. I do not remember any of it. Keeping it all straight is just not happening at all. It's really weird.
No. And I remember when this book started, when doing this stuff with Jimmy and on Earth, there's such promise. Because there were such things, and now we've gotten out into space. Everything just seems bigger without cause, without setup.
And to be clear, I think those first couple issues of this book were already weaker than the rest of his Superman stuff. Like, I think his World saga and his Action Comics that kind of went after that, I think they were already better than how this book started. But this book has just felt worse with each passing issue until we're at this point now where I'm actively not looking forward to it. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Again, my only guess is that he had like 30 issues worth of material that he wanted to do, and he just condensed it all down into 12, so everything just feels rushed and, like you say, cliff notes of stuff that's happening, and I can't keep track of all these characters and like who they all are and what their relation to each other is and everything else.
Yeah, I know them as character types, so like the Barbarian Superman, and then you have the twin Superman, or Superman, Green Lantern, right? And then we got, you know, the Magic Superman, that's Pyros. Now we have the Starfire Superman. You know, I feel like that's how I was talking about Pokemon. They're just descriptors, so that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
This is something that I genuinely like.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Tormey's art's okay. I mean, I think every time Tormey's on a book, we say the same thing, which is, it's kind of house styley, but not bad by any stretch.
Like, I didn't realize it wasn't Godlewski until you mentioned it.
I mean, Godlewski's pretty house style as well, to be fair, so it makes sense why it wasn't that noticeable of a difference.
Yeah.
So,
but the art's not the problem of this book. It's the less clear storytelling.
No. It's not. Yeah, I mean, I was so close to just not reading it this time. I really was. So we'll see what happens next month. Where, like, if there's enough books, I might just be like, you know what? I'll just get a head start on some Patreon books this month and not bother, because this thing. It's almost guaranteed that how this book ends does not matter, because the comic book continuity is already just moved away from everything, and you know, all this stuff in the future is clearly not going to matter in the present day Superman stuff. I'd be highly shocked if anything does ripple back in. So, you know, the only thing that might be important is it might explain why the 2 kids are missing. The 2 kids might be left in the future or something like that at the end of this.
Yeah. So when they were talking about this, that Zod thing that's coming, someone mentioned like, oh, they're still not talking about the kids from the Phillip Kennedy Johnson run. And someone else online was just like, yeah, forget about those kids. They don't matter. But then someone else mentioned that he specifically asked them to leave them for him. So I wonder what's going to happen at the end of this thing with them, because it definitely feels like they're not around in modern continuity.
No. They're either getting left in the future or they're just dying. I mean, something to that effect. But
I wonder if they not sacrifice themselves, but with all the stuff with Olgren, they become the new essence of Olgren.
Some with that, yeah.
And
which
form things,
is fine, I guess. But because I like those kids, because those kids were in Warworld Saga, and that stuff was good. I liked them being the new kids in the family in Metropolis. That was also fun stuff. So it's a shame that they're kind of weirdly shoved to the side for all this stuff. But I find myself just not caring about where this is going now, which is just a shame. But anyway, Matt, what are you giving Superman Book of L issue 8?
I'm going to give this a 5.5.
Yeah, I'm going to give it just a straight 5. I can't go, I was tempted to go lower because I'm annoyed, but at the same time, it's like, no, the art's fine. Like, it's all, like, technical wise, it's all fine. It's just, yeah, just the story. All right, I can rest my voice because I did not read the next book.
No.
Tales from the Green Lantern Corps, Guy Gardner, issue 1. Gerry, Duggan writing. There's like 3 or 4 artists. I didn't write them all down. I'm sure Matt will fill us in. But I had no interest in reading this. But you take it away, Matt.
Yeah, so 3 artists. We got Matteo Lolli, Laura Braga, and Vasco Georgiev. All their styles fit in very well with each other. And it feels like they just broke it up because it's an oversized book, So so this all takes place before Guy's spiritual awakening. Like, he knows there's something off with the universe, but he can't put his finger on it. And basically what kicks everything off is he gets investigated by the Green Lantern Internal Affairs. Because Guy Gardner, if you can believe it, likes to take liberties with the people that he's trying to bring into justice as a space cop. So there's this member of the Corps named Zardum, who is essentially the IA Internal Affairs. And when Guy Gardner goes through, he essentially takes a guy to the source wall and is like, look, I killed all these people. So unless you want to end up a part of the source wall, right, as one of my victims, you need to talk. And the guy starts admitting to all these different crimes. You come to find out that Guy was looking for this race of aliens called the Draconites, and that they were all sold into slavery on this planet. So he goes and he frees them, which again, I believe this is Matteo Lolli. It's very reminiscent of some of the art we are getting out of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, with those aliens that were like purple, right? They're smaller, diminutive. There's red sky, so it's playing with the red, yellows, oranges of all of this. But you come to find out that Guy didn't free these people because he's, a Green Lantern, or out of the goodness of his heart. Essentially, he has a gambling debt that he has to settle, and one of the aliens that got sold into slavery owes him money. So the only way to get the money was to get him out of slavery. So he ended up getting the whole race. So again, Guy ends up doing good things, but for the wrong reasons. And that's why, come to find out that the Internal Affairs isn't looking into him for exactly him being a bad cop. It's about his methodology, and it's creating headaches for the Corps. So he gets back, and they end up calling John Stewart in. And this is before, again, all this is before whatever's going on. And Guy has a lot of hangups with this John about him being the copy, right? He doesn't know if he can trust this version of John, because as far as he knows, this guy's the copy, and the John that died from the events of War Journal and all of that, when he sacrificed himself, that was the real John, and this guy's just a pretender. So we see John going here doing, saving some alien ship when he gets called. The lady that he saves blows him a kiss. And when he goes in to meet in the Internal Affairs cop, Zardum, come to find out that he has a taste for Earth candies. So essentially, if you want to get on this guy's side, you bring him Earth candies. And yeah, he sends John to go investigate Guy. He goes to Baltimore, where Guy has a house. The house, or the apartment, is in total disarray. There's like an alien cannon on auto. that John has to disable. At the front of his house, at the front of his apartment, there's a doormat for Halloween. Yet John mentions like it's May, right? There's food from Thanksgiving left in the refrigerator. So it's just like, guy is not living the best lifestyle. And then hiding in the bathtub with the shower curtain drawn is a manhunter. And this is what kicks off the real mystery, is that these manhunters are disabled, yet they keep showing up in places that they shouldn't be. And what happens next is a prolonged, essentially, buddy cop sequence between John and Guy, where Guy doesn't trust him because of the whole copy thing, and he left. And that gets resolved when you realize that Guy Gardner has abandonment issues because of how he grew up, and that John wouldn't have abandoned him. So it made more sense that the John that sacrificed himself would be the real John and not this guy that has come back. And John's like, you know what? You're right. That was a bad move on my part. I didn't take into account, the people I'd be letting down by doing that. But yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff in all of this where John ends up running into Guy as he is fighting these space gorillas that are stealing. They're running like a heist of the Manhunter parts, and there's a big fight between them. So you get Guy fighting a big gorilla, which is real fun, and then him and John end up fighting, and they're using all different constructs. At one point, Guy smashes a guitar on John, and they go past the International Space Station, which creates a fun sequence where the astronauts on the International Space Station don't realize there's a Green Lantern fight going on outside because they're busy fiddling with the instruments. But in each window is a different part of the fight. So again, a lot of fun to be had. And they end up crash landing on a planet, and this is where they have their entire conversation while they're having a fight of the abandonment. Zardum's very upset because his plan's not working. He thought that John would just be able to talk Guy into some sense and get him on track to figure out these manhunters. So they got to call in Kilowog. And there's this running joke where anytime Zardum calls one of the Green Lanterns in, he goes, "Oh, internal affairs. This can't be good." And so, yeah, he sends Kilowog to help as he looks over and sees all of these different Manhunter parts he's already collected. So it starts to maybe internal affairs is a part of this. Maybe he's trying to bring in the Manhunters to instill a bit more order, right? That was the vibe that I was getting. But no. Come to find out, while John and Guy are having their little kumbaya, Kilowog wasn't brought in to rein them in. He was come to piece together the rest of the case, which was there's this alien race that has been using the Manhunters as listening devices. And essentially they were like this radio network for crime across the galaxy. And these aliens look like demons, right? They're telepathic, they're intangible, they're all, for all intents and purposes, what us humans would call demons. And yeah, Kilowog has their leader as just this floating head in a jar. And essentially they were using them as telepathic antennas, keeping an eye on the Green Lanterns and anywhere else where there was a Manhunter, including the Watchtower. So Kilowog's like, yeah, we have to remove them from there. We just got to get rid of all these Manhunter pieces. And the issue ends with the demon voice, saying in his thing, he would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling lanterns, which is a bit of fun. And Zardum getting paid off by a guy with some earth candy. Guy and John go off to have a meal. They're all beat up, and they have a bro hug at the end. And he says, I'm going to sleep for a week. John tells him, and if the universe threatens to collapse, call Kilowog. He'll have your back. And Guy ends up fixing his apartment and trying to get his life back in order because now that he has his friend, and his abandonment issues are a bit at things. But as he goes to leave for the day, as he suits back up in his silly collared Green Lantern uniform with his bowl cut, there's a group of apes there that are ready to exact their revenge on him stopping their little heist, and they got a net, and it ends with Guy being like, it's gonna be a great day. So while not a necessary book, I feel like there's, Duggan does enough Green Lantern shenanigans that I thought that was just what this is gonna be, right? This is the Deadpool team, Gerry Duggan or Jerry Duggan and Matteo Lally. But there was a heart there that when we get to the point of John and Guy having out with, one another, about Guy not listening and being too headstrong for his own good, but him being like, yeah, but that's because you left. I don't know who I can trust. And, Hal's always gone and Kyle's off doing other things. We're supposed to be a team. While not saying that, that's what I get what the vibe was. So, for this thing that I thought was just going to be a kind of a throwaway Guy Gardner story, ended up being packed full of heart and having like this central mystery that actually worked for me. Now, it ended up being this weird demon thing from out of nowhere isn't as fulfilling, but the fact this is just kind of like a special issue, I don't feel like continuity is going to matter, right? We already moved on to the Manhunters in the pages of Green Lantern using the entities for things, right? So we've already moved past that. But yeah, I got to see a bunch of pages of Guy Gardner fighting a gorilla, and that is very much coded for me. So yeah. I'll give this a 7.5. Like it's there's actually nothing bad with it, but it's also not great. It's just kind of very middle of the road.
Okay. A very special issue for a very special haircutted boy.
That is correct.
All right. Swamp Thing, 1989, issue 1, Rick Veitch writing with Michael Zulli on the art. Or the cover actually just says issue 88. Because that's technically what it would have been at the time. So, and there's even ads in the back and stuff. There's an ad at the last page for Batman, the 1989 movie, which is wild. So they've kept.
I kind of love it.
Yeah, they've kept the authentic like time period stuff. So you forgot this existed, Matt. So this is just me.
I did. I did.
But this wasn't a vote winner like Zatanna was. So I was like, no, I'll just talk about it. I already read it. So. All I knew going into this was that this was pulled back in the day. It had been written and maybe even finished. I can't remember exactly to what extent, but it was pulled because it had a controversial element to do with Jesus, right? And I'm not sure if the Jesus stuff is going to recur throughout the entire arc. And I say that because it seems like it's kind of done by the end of this issue. And Swamp Thing's going to do other things, but obviously they weren't going to just skip an issue back in the day, I guess, if this was essential to the story. But anyway, so Swamp Thing's kind of like drifting between worlds and the multiverse at the start of this issue. Like he's kind of in like the multiversal stream, if you will, and he's kind of floating through. And some of the bubbles you see like different versions of characters from different Earths and whatnot. And he's kind of like spiraling towards the center of this multiverse kind of string. Like all the worlds kind of make these sort of strings of like almost like ripples of like a water whirlpool. Anyway,
okay.
We all of a sudden just cut to someone breaking bread and saying, "This is my body," and I'm like, "Wait a minute!" And then he's like taking a sip of wine. "This is my blood," and I'm like, "Oh." We're doing Jesus stuff already. He's talking to his disciples. What's going on here? So the plot of this is like, I mean, I guess if you're super religious, maybe you do find this offensive. But the plot of this is that the three men who turn out to be the three wise men, because they say later on we posed as wise men for his birth. So these are the three wise men who are summoning a demon. Because they want to get rid of this carpenter who's going around causing trouble and spreading goodwill and all sorts, right? Nazareth, blah, blah, blah. So they raise a demon, and the demon comes out and says something like, "Oh, no mere mortal may lay eyes upon me." And then it reveals that all three of these men have ripped out their eyeballs so that they can't see him. And he's like, "Very well, why have you summoned me?" And he's like, "We need you to take care of this carpenter." So he's like, "Okay, I won't kill myself. I'm a demon. I will influence. I will possess. I will, puppeteer or whatever." cut to a Roman centurion, right, in bed at a brothel with Mary Magdalene.
Okay. So far checks out.
Right? And basically...
From what I know, I'm not a scholar.
Yeah. And basically, he's like, oh, you're the best prostitute in all of the land. And she's like, oh, you're sweet. You're my best customer. I almost said that, like that scene from The Room. You're my favorite customer, Johnny. But basically, she doesn't even charge him because she had such a good time. And she just wants his respect. And in fact, as he's getting dressed and they're being all flirty, she's like, hey, there is one thing you could do for me. You know, there's this carpenter, you've probably heard of him, going around, and he's, you know, he's doing stuff, and you know, like, you know, he's getting a lot of heat. Some of the, you know, people are like, you know, demanding that he be arrested for blasphemy and stuff. Could, you know, you like make sure you, like, that doesn't happen? And he's like, you know what? I'm the one they'd probably send to arrest him, so don't worry, I'll let him slip away. And he basically admits, you know, he promises that. However, when he walks out of the brothel, the demon shows up and fires his tongue into his mouth. It's, you know, implanting some kind of possession seed or something. And then we cut back to Swamp Thing, and he kind of like gets drawn into the world and basically grows on the tree next to where Jesus is like sitting and talking to people, and then he sits down with his grail and starts, you know, and he's like, oh, in the future this is going to be referred to as the Holy Grail, and people are going to think it's important. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen Last Crusade, yes, I'm familiar with the Grail.
That's the cup of a carpenter.
But Swamp Thing like juices himself because he's grown in the tree like a piece of fruit. He juices himself into the cup to give him like some nourishment. That's, I know it sounds insane when I'm saying it.
He juices himself. That sounds so bad.
Well, does it sound any better to say that he squirts out some juice? I mean, I don't think it does.
I mean, it's not the best, but you know, I'm gonna have to go and read this now because this sounds like you're describing like a trip that you had. You know, you got a hold of some bad food, ate it anyways. You're like, yo, you won't believe the show I watched.
Yeah, but he you know, he's basically like, oh, I think he can sense that I'm here. He's you know, Jesus is closing his eyes. He knows I'm here, and they never actually say the word Jesus. I don't think, like, they never actually point out who he is. But
they keep calling him the carpenter, from what you're saying.
Yeah, right.
Like,
and there are several direct references that make it abundantly clear who it is. But also, some centurions barge into the brothel looking for, I think it was Marcus was the, you know. Anyway, the centurion who was there before, and there's already another customer in with his hands on the boobs, and she's like, "No, he was here earlier. He left a while ago though." And they find him outstairs. He's been stumbling around. They think he's drunk, but his eyes are all red, and his skin's like kind of off color. He's clearly, something's not quite right. And yeah, so Swamp Thing, like I said, grows like some fruit on the end of like a vine and like squirts the juice into the grail. And basically the possessed soldier, when Mary Magdalene tries to talk to him, he just gets aggressive and punches her and sort of laughs maniacally, and it's clear that he's evil now, and like, you know, he's going to go off and arrest this carpenter regardless of what he's promised her. And basically, the like Swamp Thing just keeps sort of keeping an eye on Jesus, and he's not actually like willing. He doesn't take a sip of the drink from the cup, and it's not until the centurion shows up and all the rest of it. And they also mentioned that Judas is the one that gave the Romans like the intel, which, you know, that's playing into the lore and all that. But Swamp Thing basically recognizes as the centurion's coming, wait a minute, I sense a demon. I can hear the rhyming. I can hear the demon talk. I'm like coming up to deal with this. So he comes up, and there's a bit of a fight scene where he fights the centurion and pushes him against the tree. But as he's doing this, Jesus chooses to pick up the grail and take a sip of what was there. And yeah, Jesus basically just accepts what's going to happen to him. But during the fight with Swamp Thing, because Swamp Thing, after the drink's been taken, he basically fades back into the multiverse stream. Like, he can't stay here anymore. Mm-hmm. But during the fight with the possessed soldier, the soldier's ear get cut off, and Jesus picks it up, and the demonic ear turns into a human ear. You know, kind of like he's turning, you know, water to wine, all that sort of nonsense. And Jesus, before he gets taken off and arrested, goes up to the possessed soldier, puts his hands around him, and just kind of, like, I don't know, initiates a purge of, like, the demon that's been put inside him. So basically, this intercuts with the main demon who did all this grabbing the 3 blind men and eating them, because he's pissed now that this has happened to his, like, demon child that he's put into the soldier. So he shoves the men into his mouth, and that intercuts with the possessed soldier spitting out a little demon child out of his mouth onto the ground, right? And as it's doing this,
what is this book?
There's a reveal here, right? Where as he's eating these 3 blind men, the demon says, "You've cost me my only son, only one whose destiny was to the reign of the Princess Hell, Etrigan." So the demon that the centurion spat up is little baby Etrigan. So I don't know if this is canon. I doubt it somehow, but I mean, looking at the main demon, there's a bit of an Etrigan look to his face. He's got a bit more going on as well, but you know, it's not a wild leap, so you can see it. And then you get like a montage of Jesus being whipped and put in a cross, and you know, full page spread of him.
The passion.
Yeah, doing the whole crucifix thing. And then Magdalene's back with the soldier who's all apologetic, and she somehow just kind of knows, oh, it's okay, you were possessed by a demon. I'm like, okay, I guess I guess Jesus slipped her word. Like, hey, by the way, your new boyfriend, he was possessed. Don't be mad at him. And that's the whole thing. Yeah, and also part of the reason for this, Swamp Thing mentions, is that a mysterious kind of like not crystal, but like rock or mineral is what sent him into the multiverse, and you kind of see that in the Grail at the end, like whoever picks it up like takes it out of the cup, and it's implied to be tied to all this. So I don't know if there's going to be more religious stuff in the following issues necessarily with this, but the issue ends with Swamp Thing in the multiverse stream, but he's looking at the middle of the multiverse, and it's Jesus's face in like the sort of the nucleus of this multiverse stream. So I don't know what to make of the meaning of any of this. It's almost like it's trying to say that, like, the idea of Jesus, like, it's almost like it's trying to insert Christianity into like the DC multiverse and say it's relevant to the entire multiverse or something like that. I don't know how to take that. Bit weird, you know, and it is someone who is just an atheist. I don't know what to even make of it. I have to admit, I was entertained at points though, when it's like the 3 men saying that they were posing as wise men at the birth, and Mary Magdalene having like weird nude scenes with a soldier who's like going to go and do things for her. Like, I was kind of into the absurdity of a lot of it and the kind of the shock value of it. I don't know what to really feel about the actual intent of the story by the end, if I'm being completely honest. I'm like, okay.
I mean, it seems like it's a backdoor origin for Etrigan as well.
Yes, that's the other part of it, yeah.
I wonder if there was plans for that because Constantine came to the page of the Swamp Thing, right?
That sounds right, yeah.
This was them trying to do all of that, the magical side of things.
Yeah, I wonder if the idea here is that because Jesus kind of like made Etrigan get spit out, that's inherently why Etrigan is not as bad as other demons or something. Like, he's been touched by Son of God kind of thing. I don't know.
Well, and then his entire story with him and Jason Blood goes back to Arthurian legend and all that type of stuff. So them trying to put a religious bent on that too. The whole idea of knights and whatever. I can see, again, this makes sense in the term of 1980s comics, right?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to tie Etrigan, and I suppose if you want to tie, because Constantine deals with magic and stuff, if you want to tie that to that as well. It's maybe not what I would want from a Swamp Thing story necessarily, though.
True.
So, yeah, not sure how to...
So when you said he was growing, I was like, are they going to turn him into wood for the crucifix?
No.
That would have been... Oof. And he said he just juiced himself, so
No. Oh, I can't wait till Marvel do that Guardians of the Galaxy special where Groot supplies them with the crucifix.
Yep.
Anyway, I mean, it's interesting, and I did kind of like the art. It's kind of got that old school art kind of thing where there's a lot of extra little details on the faces and stuff like that, so it feels quite moody. Even the clouds are quite scratchy with a lot of like extra lines for texture and that kind of thing. It feels of that era, feels of that time.
So was this entire thing shelved, or are they just working off of the script from that time? So I was like, was this art that was sitting there as well?
I think so. I mean, it looks of that era. I mean, I don't know if they I don't know how much of it was finished at the time. I don't know if maybe they had to finish some of the last issues or something like that. Like, I don't know how, I don't know how many, is this 4 issues, 6 issues? Were they all completely written and drawn? Maybe maybe they just needed colored when they got cancelled. I don't know.
Because again, I understand why something like this in 1989 would have been shelved. For as edgelordy as stuff could have been back then. I get this causing an uproar. Although, through our 2026 lenses, it's not that bad, and it still hits the theme of what I feel like. And when you're touching on some of these religious elements, it doesn't show the Carpenter in a bad light, at all. There's nothing I would say blasphemous at all. It's the surrounding characters.
Yeah.
Maybe DC just at the time was just like, we don't want to mess with this.
If anything, the attitude of that character specifically is just that, I need to go through with what's about to happen. Nothing can get in the way of it, which seems to be his attitude. So, I don't know. I guess there was just a fear of touching it at all and even trying to imply or tie continuity to, Etrigan was born from the soldier who came to arrest them. I don't know. It's a bit weird. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It was definitely one of the more interesting things I read this week, and I did for all the not really knowing how to feel about the story, I did think it was written well, and I enjoyed the dialogue and the pacing of it. So it was nice. It was almost like a nice teaser for the next Patreon book we're doing, which, if you don't know, guys, Swamp Thing by Alan Moore won the vote, so we'll be starting that the first issue of that this month, which is, I think, issue 20 or whatever it is. It's the first issue in volume 1 of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing collections. Right. But we'll be doing that on Patreon. Anyway, this issue, I think I would give this I think I'd maybe even go as high as an 8, because I think it was enjoyable to read, even though what it's actually doing with the Jesus stuff by the end, what how do I feel about that? I don't really know, because I don't even know if it's going to come up next issue. Maybe each issue is going to try and tie in a different thing of mythology into weird Swamp Thing lore or something. I don't know, but
this was just, so I'm reading the solicit, and it was these were just this is after a renowned 2-year run on the series. His grand finale to Swamp Thing was cut short. So it feels like they're just finishing whenever that was.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know if he's going to do a whistle stop of whatever, but it does feel like we'll get the conclusion to that. What starts as more. So it is weird that they're reading them out of order like that.
Yeah. But anyway, there you go. That's Swamp Thing 1989 issue 1, or just Swamp Thing issue 88 if you prefer. So cool. All right, that'll take us out to the final part of the show where we pick our favorite stuff of the week, favorite panel/moment, favorite cover, favorite art, and of course top 5 books of the week. So starting off with panel/moment of the week, Matt.
So mine's gonna be, and I've thought about this for as much as there was stuff in Absolute Green Lantern that was great, and most of the vibe in Batman 9. My moment's gonna be from Absolute Superman 19, and there's a bunch from there. But thinking upon it, the entire sequence with John Henry Irons talking at the beginning about how he had created this technology that became the Peacemaker technology that Lazarus stole from him, told him they were going to give him a job, and now he's working at a meat processing plant. And it ends with him taking the hammer to the poor cow, right? Definitely made me think about things in real world, how often stuff like this probably happens, right? And it's just not on the superhero level, but it's other things. And yeah, it was a very bleak and stark introduction. to that issue that I genuinely loved. So yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, I mean, I love the 2-page spread of them fighting through the building and that, but I think just for story impact and kind of the potential that it gives, I do have to go with the arrest of Barbara Gordon. I think that moment with all the laser sights on her back is just such a good payoff to things. But there's a bunch of moments in that or the absolute books that I could have picked, but that's what I'm going with. For cover of the week, main Batgirl cover is pretty good. It's just like her on the red background with all the extra blood streaks, giving it a lot more kind of contrast. There's a couple of okay variants. The Absolute Green Lantern. I like the Fabrizio Di Tommaso variant in particular. I like the main cover of Batman, which is Babs and Batman standing back to back, which is cool. But my cover of the week is a variant for Batman, and that is the Jorge Molina cover, which is got that super painted style, and it's got this contrast because, like, Batman's sort of like in the middle, sort of breaking the page up, where above him it's all kind of blue and moody, and it's just Vandal Savage and Batman's head. But underneath, where his like cape and cowl are, it's all fiery and orange, and you've got Babs and Damien running from the SWAT team. Just looks really cool, very moody. Love it. What's your pick, Matt?
Yep. All right, so there's a Poison Ivy cover. Usually Ivy covers are a go-to for me, but they've been far and few between lately. There's one though that I want to spotlight that is from, let me get there. Man, Nubovic. And yeah, it's got Pam in her old, style, the leaf gear, like the bathing suit. And it looks like she's tending to like something, like a flower thing, almost like there's something in there. And it's very ominous. But it doesn't match the vibe of the current story. It's a cool image. Absolute Green Lantern has one that is a Marguerite Sauvage, and it's got Joe in her like sneakers and jeans and jacket, surrounded by all this green energy, and it's on the stark white. It looks really cool. Big fan of that one. And then there's two AHA variants, one of which I'm going to give my cover of the week to. The runner up here is the Batman cover for variant. It's got Batman behind that they're calling it the Tuco. So I forget what it said for, but it was like a task force to bring in the bats. And he's standing behind them, and they all look scared. There's three of them, and one of them is making like it's like a speech bubble, but with the bat symbol in it. But it also makes the bat symbol on Batman. So it works on multiple levels. However, as good as that one is, there's a David Aja variant for Tales of the Green Lantern Corps by Gardner. That he's been doing all of these for the Green Lantern books, and they're all kind of the same, where there's an inset of black with the planets, and then one of the lanterns coming up through it. And this one just has Guy, and it's all green, and it's green and black on the white. It looks great. So that's mine.
Yeah. All right. Well, art of the week, Baron. What am I thinking of? Because art of the week.
Yeah. All right. So, man. If there was one thing this week, I really like Tales of the Green Lantern Corps. However, there's three different artists, so I can't give it to that. But I can give it to another Green Lantern book, and that's going to be Absolute Green Lantern. Because all the stuff it's doing with the colors and the way that the action plays out and how it balances the space stuff with the Earth stuff. Yeah, so that one's my pick.
It's good. It's good. I don't know if it's rising to the top for me though. I think for me it's between Sandoval for Absolute Superman, because there was so much great stuff, but the color schemes of Superman and Black Adam just meshing together really well and a lot of contrast. Or honestly, maybe even just Swamp Thing 1989, just because it has that old school style that's so different from the rest of the stuff this week. I'm probably going to go with Absolute Superman, but it's yeah, I think that's my pick. All right. All right, Matt, to top 5 books.
Top 5. So number 1 is going to be Batman. 2 is going to be Absolute Superman. 3 is going to be Absolute Green Lantern. 4 is going to be Poison Ivy. And 5 is the Tales of the Green Lantern Corps, Guy Gardner.
Yeah, I think... I think it's probably very similar, actually, at least at the top end. My number one's probably Batman. Number two, Absolute Superman. Number three, Absolute Green Lantern. Four, Swamp Thing 1989, which you could argue if I should count that or not, but I'm counting that. And then five, Batgirl, I guess. Kind of by default. Yeah, it's basically not Book of L. Book of L does not make the cut. is basically what I'm trying to say. So, and I feel sad about that. I feel sad that I feel that strongly about it, but I do. So here we are.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. All right, I'll tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics. We have Absolute Batman issue 20, Absolute Martian Manhunter issue 11, Action Comics 1098, The Fury of Firestorm issue 2. We have Barbara Gordon Breakout issue 1, Bleeding Hearts issue 4, Supergirl issue 13, Emperor Aquaman 17, Green Lantern Corps issue 16, and then there's some facsimiles and reprints as per usual. So yeah, pretty strong looking week coming in. Firestorm was a great surprise last month, and we got the new Barbara Gordon book from Tamaki, so I'm got a lot to look forward to for next week's books. And we will go back and do Zatanna issue 1 next week, because that was the vote winner. So look forward to all of that. But yeah, that'll bring an end to the show, everyone. Thank you for joining us. You can, of course, support everything over in Patreon. Patreon.com/MailFuzzTV if you want to help support and get things a little bit early, get access to the monthly old comic review, which will be starting Swamp Thing by Alan Moore this month. But all of 9 issues of Batgirl Year 1 were over the last 9 months, so they're all there to be watched if you want to check those out. But yeah, that is us. So thank you very much for joining. We do appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.